Here it comes. Okay.
Okay, it's.
It's like it's not coming.
So.
I have some.
Nice to see you.
Yeah, Jim, you remember that's Alexis?
Yeah.
Yeah, and then that's Peter, or her,
How
so
are you? Pleasure.
this is Councillor Fleeler, Jim Fleeler.
We'll be able to do.
How are you feeling?
Oh. 10 days, I was just like a three-legged dog.
I don't know what that means.
Not sure either.
Three-legged dogs are good.
I don't know what that means. No.
They can.
Oh, you will.
Fine.
Jim, did you just have a birthday?
No.
Oh, was it coming up?
We-
Oh, no, you're coming up, you're coming up. Okay. Good. The gang's here. Oh. The other thing I'm doing, I'm losing my connections. It says my connection's lost, like, no
The internet,
internet.
something's going on with that app that's on like,
Okay, here we go.
what's that? That's crashing.
We're ready? Okay. Welcome everyone to our October 14th Tweed Municipal Council meeting. We always begin our council meeting with our land acknowledgement. The municipality of Tweed recognizes that our work takes place on traditional Indigenous territories, including the Wendat, Anishinaabe, and the Haudenosaunee peoples. We recognize and respect the history, languages, and cultures of the First Nations, Métis, and all Indigenous peoples, whose presence continues to enrich our communities. Please join me now and us in the singing of O Canada. Thank you. No. Over to seconder for the approval of today's agenda, please. Thank you, Councilor Valiquette. Thank you, Deputy Mayor Smush. Any questions on city agenda? Seeing none, we resolve that the agenda for the October 14, 2025 regular council meeting be approved as presented. Call in favor. Are there any disclosure of pecuniary interest? Seeing none. Could I have a movement as seconded for the adoption of the minutes from our September 23rd, 2025 council meeting? Thank you, Councilor Valiquette. Thank you, Deputy Mayor Marsh. Any questions on said minutes? Seeing none, all in favor. We'll move on to Mayor's remarks. Council sincerely hopes everyone enjoyed a wonderful and joyous Thanksgiving. Congratulations to the Harvest Festival team for yet another fall extravaganza. Congratulations as well to Cindy Chow for planning and delivering a stellar volunteer appreciation event, and to Chef Mikel for the delectable cuisine, a perfect fit for a crisp fall evening. We also extend congratulations to Mayo Hako and the Gateway Community Health Center for their successful recruitment of another full-time doctor. Welcome to the municipality of Tweed, Dr. Ryan McConnell. On September 24th, CEO Diski and I met with Blue Circle Energy regarding the postponement of their town hall on a proposed battery storage project. The delay will allow them to complete additional studies with a new target of spring 2026 for the town hall. It is reassuring that they are taking the time necessary to ensure the suitability of the location. A thorough review, including public consultation, is essential before any decision is made. That evening, I also attended the Queensborough Turkey Dinner. On October 6th, Deputy Mayor and I attended the evening Hamlet meeting. On October 8th, I participated in the Hastings County Community and Human Services Committee meeting. That same evening, Deputy Mayor Marsh, Councillor Valleycat, and I attended the Municipal Volunteer Appreciation event at the Pavilion. Unfortunately, Councillor Fleetwood was ill. This year, the winners for the candidates nominated by the public are Jeanette Honey, Fair Board, Robert Palmetier, Rocking the Trails, Travis Keller, Foundation Youth Group, and Pat Thomas, the Tweed Legion. The group award went to the Tweed and Area Heritage Center and Historical Society. Debbie Boomhauer, Jack White, Wendy Stevens, Joanne Keller, Ruth James Morrow, Bonnie Marantette, Kate England, Betty Lalone, Tammy Meeks, Jerry Heisman, Sylvia Heisman, Joan Martin, and our very own Jim Fleetwood. I will share my remarks from that evening in a moment. On the morning of October 9th, I met with Lindsay Butcher Dodds, Executive Director of the Trenton Memorial Hospital Foundation, to assist in preparing the upcoming presentation to County Council. That afternoon, CAO Diskey, Clerk Krellin, and I attended the Joint Fire Services Board meeting. As noted, last Wednesday, I was honored to recognize all our community volunteers at our Municipal Volunteer Celebration event, hosted at the Pavilion, with the following remarks. Thank you for attending our Municipal Volunteer Celebration event. When we talk about what makes Tweed such a special place, it always comes back to one thing: our people. And more than that, the people who give of themselves, our volunteers. Every time I look around at our parks, our sports fields, our schools, our clubs, our charitable organizations, our places of worship, we see the work of our volunteers. You see them everywhere. The coaches who give up their evenings so our kids can play the sports they love. The folks who serve breakfast at our schools so every child starts the day ready to learn. Those who protect and celebrate our culture and heritage. The club members who plan events, raise funds, foster connection, and keep our programs and worthy causes alive. Those who tend to our gardens and help feed those in need. The keepers of our community halls. And those who quietly check on a neighbor or lend a hand when no one's watching, like those who tend to our elderly at Moeller Place. That's what community looks like. It's not fancy, and it's not about recognition. It's about caring enough to show up again and again. And there are many of you. As mayor, I have the privilege of seeing the difference that each of you makes. You may think what you do is small, but the truth is, it ripples out in ways you might never see. You lift others up, you make things possible. You make Tweed stronger. So tonight, on behalf of council and our entire municipality, I just want to say thank you. Thank you for giving your time, your energy, your heart, and your talent. You are the heartbeat of this community, and Tweed is a better place because of you. We sincerely thank you all. I'd also like to take a moment to look around the room and really see what community looks like. It's right here. It's you. The hours you've given, the patience you've shown, the kindness you've shared, all of it adds up to something far bigger than any one of us. It's what makes Tweed the kind of place people are proud to call home. So let's give a round of applause to every volunteer, every quiet helper, every steady hand. Let's give a round of applause to each and every one of you. Thank you for the light you bring to this community, for reminding us what it means to care, and for your unwavering desire to make a difference. Excuse me. In closing, council will soon begin budget deliberations, and staff are already fine-tuning their presentations. Stay tuned for further details. Happy fall, everyone. Excuse me. Okay, now we have a notice of motion. The way I like to do this is whoever tables the motion, they will be the mover, and I ask them to read it. So this is your motion, Deputy Mayor DeMarsh.
Okay. Yes, I'm gonna pull up that.
Okay, whereas the residents of the municipality of Tweed have expressed strong opposition to the installation of battery energy storage system, BESS facilities, citing significant concerns regarding public safety, environmental risks, and insufficient local economic benefit. And whereas the risk associated with BESS installations significantly outweighs any demonstrated local advantage and has led to uncertainty for the municipality and residents alike. Now therefore be it resolved that the municipality of Tweed hereby prohibits the installation or use of any and all BESS facilities in all municipal zones.
Thank you. I just realized I did not have my mic on for that whole piece. So I hope everybody's gonna be okay out there. Okay, okay, I have a seconder for that. Yes, thank you, Councillor Flater. Okay, a discussion on that motion. Yes, please go ahead.
Through Mayor and Council, this is an issue that deserves our serious attention. The growing push for large-scale battery energy storage systems, or BESS. On the surface, these projects are marketed as clean, modern, and environmentally friendly. We're told they're part of a solution to climate change, storing renewable energy for later use. But beneath that green label lies a number of very real and very serious dangers that cannot be ignored. First, and most importantly, battery storage systems pose a significant fire and explosion risk. They are not small household batteries. These are massive industrial scale cells containing hundreds of thousands of kilowatt hours of stored energy. When they fail, and history has shown that they do, the result is not a minor incident. Thermal runaway events can trigger toxic gas releases, explosions, and fires that burn for days and are nearly impossible to extinguish with conventional methods. Just look at the incidents in Arizona, California, and New York. In several cases, firefighters were injured or hospitalized after responding to BESS fires. In some instances, emergency crews had to let the system burn out completely because there was no safe way to put it out. Are we prepared for that kind of danger in our community? Does our fire department have the training and resources to handle a chemical fire of that magnitude? These systems contain highly toxic materials. When they burn or rupture, they release gases like hydrogen fluoride and carbon monoxide, both of which are lethal even in small concentrations. Beyond that, spills and leaks can contaminate soil, groundwater, nearby waterways, and rural wells, leaving long-term environmental damage that could take years and millions of dollars to clean up. So while these projects are often presented as green, the reality is they introduce new environmental hazards right into our backyards. Often these projects are owned by private energy developers or large corporations who sell stored power back to the grid, not to local residents. Communities bear the risk while companies reap the profits. And let's remember, battery systems don't generate energy, they merely store it. That means they depend entirely on another source, whether renewable or not, to charge them in the first place. We can embrace innovation without endangering public safety, but that means saying no to projects that put people at risk simply for the sake of convenience or profit. Large-scale battery energy storage systems are being promoted as the next step in clean energy. But until we have proven safety standards, proper oversight, and full community consent, they represent an unacceptable danger to both people and the environment. Let's not be pressured into approving technologies we don't fully understand and don't fully control. Our residents aren't just concerned, they're anxious and petrified, and the uncertainty and fear around these installations has grown more intense over the last couple of years, and with good reason. Once a system explodes, leaks, or burns, it's too late to say we should have asked more questions.
Thank you. Anybody else like to comment? Yes, Councillor Flavor.
Your worship, I don't know how many different articles we can see, there's been lives lost. I asked questions of the company that was here, they had no answers. They skirted around all the answers. They didn't answer a question I asked them. I asked them about hydrogen gas, they said it doesn't emit hydrogen gas. Well, when it's on fire, it sure does. And as Deputy Mayor DeMar said, there's no technology out there for the fire department to put these things out. I did some math So as the crow flies, I'm 5.5 kilometers from the site. And why won't they divulge the site? I mean, if this is enough,
The site has been divulged.
well, I haven't seen it yet.
It was in the presentation that they made. I think it was,
No, no,
They told us the location.
there's a map.
they
There
didn't,
was a map, and I think there was a termination.
there was a map there, but there was no exact identification of the site. Anyway, I could talk about this for 2 or 3 months if you like, but I won't. So anyway. I have 5.5 clicks as the crow flies. If this thing blows up, 15 km/h wind, 22 minutes. Those gases are over top my house. So in the middle of the night, this thing blows up, I'm sound asleep, which is rare. And we got 22 minutes to notify me that this thing blew up. Is that possible? No. What about the guy that lives right next door? If it's 22 minutes for me to be engulfed by this toxic gas that will kill people. What about the guy right next door? What's he got? 30 seconds, 2 minutes? We need to value the lives of the people that live here. We can't promote things that aren't proven. This isn't proven. We've as Deputy Mayor DeMarsh said, they take power from the grid. And in that process, they lose 10% of that power. We're in a world where we need all the power we can get. Why would we eliminate 10% of the power to transfer it from AC to DC and then back to from DC to AC to put it back out on the lines? If we have an ice storm, the power lines go down, what good is this thing? Nothing, no value at all. If we have a brownout, I've had a few guys crunch some numbers, they figure 4 hours max. What good is that? When you're down for maybe a week, 2 weeks, 4 hours of power for all this money. And the possibility of losing people's lives. Anyway, I definitely not supporting this. Not now, not ever.
You're supporting the motion.
I'm supporting the motion, yes.
Okay, anything else? Before
I got lost, but I'll just stop right there.
Okay, anybody else?
Go ahead.
Go ahead, Jacob. Thank you.
Your worship, the one concern I have with the motion is that we're kind of dismissing these ideas. I'm not saying now at the time or anything like that. I'm a farmer and a municipal politician. That doesn't mean I know a whole lot about this. But what I do know is that innovation is the only thing that's going to move this country forward. And every time that we curtail it, we don't help move forward. So that's the only concern with dismissing it. The more we can learn, the more residents can learn, and maybe not this time, but maybe next time we have a better understanding and we know how to handle this. Because we also have to remember, in our municipality, we are near those services, such as the B1S, a major power line that runs through. We've got a lot more vacant land, but we are still located close to big centers. So it is something that if we want to survive as a municipality, we're gonna have to take on some projects and some innovative projects in order to stay viable. So that's my only concern, is I don't want people to be afraid to bring their projects to this municipality, because that's what's gonna drive us forward. So that's all.
Councilor Belica.
So, Councilor Volunteer kind of echoed the things that I had written down that I wanted to make sure that I said today, but essentially I'm not agreeing with the motion because I think it sends a bad message to anybody that wants to develop anything in our community, be it old or new technology, that we all of a sudden just don't agree with. And I'm not a chemist, and I can't comment on lithium ion versus lithium iron phosphate and there's a whole bunch of stuff that's going on there that's way outside my wheelhouse, but we have subject matter experts who are able to provide us with good information. And then I would follow that information based on what they're telling me and make a decision that I think would be best for our community based on the totality of everything. I don't think that we would be doing what people asked us to do when we were voted in. I think that we're here to listen to the merits of a proposal and then make an informed decision based on the best interest of our community. And just to build on Councillor Palmetier and Deputy Mayor Demarche's comments, we can't embrace innovation if we can't hear about it. That's it.
Okay, thank you. Yes, Councillor Pinu.
If I may once more, your worship. I can't. I can't. Even comprehend the possibility of having death on my watch. I'm a retired volunteer first responder. I know when you rally the troops and go to a scene, you have no idea what you've got, no idea. In this situation, we've got no turnout gear to protect the guys. We need chemical suits. We at the very least, we would have training like I have never seen. I was a dangerous goods, hazardous material, all that stuff. First responder, medical, everything. You don't know what you got till you get there. The money involved for us to train these guys would be worth more than 50 grand a year. 50 grand a year is peanuts. And if you take that over 20 years, 50 grand now, what's 50 grand worth 20 years from now? Not very much. What about the damage to the roads? Who's gonna pay for that? You and I? For this company to make money? Not interested. They need a plan in place. They haven't got the plan there. There's in the possibility of human loss of life. I cannot even think about that for 1 second, and I would like a recorded vote on this as well.
Have you requested one? Because I will.
Yes, I'll go along with recording vote.
I can't. You know what, it's like letting your kids play out in the middle of the highway. Go ahead. Maybe you get run over, maybe you won't. We can't take that chance. We've looked at different situations where we made decisions, hard decisions. And maybe we were almost stoned to death, but I think we made the right decision. We need to make the right decision right now.
Thank you. Anybody else before I make my comments?
Just build on Councilor Fleego saying, to me, this discussion today isn't about death. It's not even about the batteries. It's about taking away community council's ability to hear the conversation about it. Because the reality is, when the previous company came to us, the technology was different than it is with this company. And quite honestly, I don't know what's going to happen with this one, but if it doesn't go, and that's possible, 8 years from now, when the next company shows up, the technology could be significantly different and safe enough that you would accept it willingly, but we're not going to be able to hear that because of this. And that's what I'm trying to avoid. It's not having it or not having it, or saying yes or saying no. It's about taking away community and council's ability to hear the conversation and make an informed decision. That's what this is about. This isn't about the fire department. This is about hearing about the company's plan to train the fire department. You're not even giving them that opportunity. So to me, this is a very simple conversation about a couple lines in a motion. And it's about giving community and council the opportunity to hear the discussion. That's it.
Okay, well, I had prepared a statement this time as well, because I didn't want to get myself into the mess that I got myself into last time. So if you will, I want to thank you, council. I appreciate the effort each and every one of you makes when you bring forward a motion for our consideration. Some have received resounding support from other municipalities. Councillor Wheeler, your two motions, one re-incineration and one to reintroduce the license sticker fee, have had a great success. And Councillor Valiquette, your repatriation of OPP costs was another. I want to begin by saying that the concerns raised by our residents about public safety, environmental protection, and community well-being are both genuine and important. Those are priorities that every one of us around this table shares. That said, I believe it would be premature and not in the best interest of good governance to prohibit any and all battery energy storage system projects before we have all the information. Our duty as council is not to make assumptions in advance of evidence, but to ensure that every proposal is subject to proper study, review, and public consultation. We owe it to our residents to make informed decisions, not reactionary ones. If we close the door to opportunities without understanding them, we risk sending a message that Tweed is not open to discussion, not open to responsible innovation, and not open for business. That is not the Tweed we have worked hard to build or the approach our residents expect from their council. Instead of an outright prohibition, I would support a process that ensures any proposal is examined openly, transparently, and with full community involvement. That project protects both our residents and our reputation. So let us do what good governance demands. Gather the facts, hear all sides, and make our decision when the full picture is before us. That is my position. Now, Deputy Mayor, Councillor Fleeter has requested a recorded vote, seconded by Deputy Mayor. So I turn it over to you, Laurie.
I'll read the motion as it was presented. Whereas the residents of the municipality have expressed strong opposition to the installation of batteries and energy storage systems, BESS facilities, citing significant concerns regarding public safety, environmental risk, and insufficient local economic benefit. And whereas the risk associated with BESS installation significantly outweigh any demonstrated local advantage and has led to uncertainty for the municipality of Tweed and residents alike. Now therefore be it resolved that the municipality of Tweed hereby prohibits the installation or use of any and all BES facilities in all municipal zones. And through the mayor, I would ask Councillor Wheeler, how do you vote?
I'm in favor of the motion.
Deputy Mayor Demarche, how do you vote?
Support the motion.
Councillor Palmetier, how do you vote?
Again.
Councillor Valiquette, how do you vote?
Against.
Mayor DeGenova, how do you vote?
Against.
The motion is defeated.
Okay, now moving on. I'd like to invite Alexis and Peter to come up to the podium if you would. They are, Councillor Fuller has met them before, I believe Councillor Valiquette, have you?
No, I have.
Okay. We have met with them before. They're here to talk about the new, what was at one point called a high frequency, and then there was complete silence on it for a number of years. It's now been resurrected as a high speed. And I've invited them, having talked with them at the Ontario East Municipal Conference, to come in and share. First of all, let me say, this is in the initial planning stages. They're just coming here to give us a broad overview of what we're going to be looking at. There's no path, there's no track, there's nothing decided on yet. So I wanted us to just have a little bit of a heads up, and I've encouraged them to come and to share their presentation with us. So I'm turning it over to you. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Your Worship, and thank you, Council, for having myself and my colleague Alexis Doyle here to present an overview of the project on where we are. Your Worship, you're absolutely correct. We are in the early phases, and we are intentionally going out and talking to municipalities early, and we want to do it often. I like to joke with the team, we want you to be sick of us in a good way, because we are out talking and engaging not only elected officials, but the public across our corridor. So I just wanted to just thank you very much for taking this opportunity. My name is Peter Paz. I am the Senior Director for Public and Government Relations for Alto for the province of Ontario. We have a mirrored team in Quebec that is doing the same in terms of government and public relations. You can go to the next slide. I just wanted to start with the problem statement that we're trying to address. Traveling through Ontario increasingly becomes a challenge for us. Unless you're driving at 5:30 in the morning like I did today, you're going to have congestion on the 401. The impacts of rising insurance costs, car ownership, flights make transportation very difficult for individuals. When we think about how packed our highways are across Ontario, it continues to bring challenges. And then we think about disconnected communities. When you factor in escalating costs and network constraints, it's getting harder and harder to travel across our two most populated provinces. And with this, next slide, please. The government back in on February 19th of this year, then Prime Minister Trudeau officially announced that the federal government would proceed with a high-speed rail project that would unite the two largest provinces, representing 60% of the Canadian population and 40% of the Canadian GDP, over 1,000 kilometers. It is projected, our working assumption at the moment is that we're going to achieve speeds of 300 to 315 kilometers an hour, which is unheard of in Canada. We are the only G7 country that has not either developed high-speed rail or begun construction in high-speed rail, and we're about 40 years too late. So getting started is something that we're eagerly excited to do. How are we going to achieve this? Well, first, as I mentioned, we're going to be fast. We're going to achieve it through high speeds of over 300 kilometers an hour. We're going to be reliable. And I think the key there is we are building dedicated track across 1,000-kilometer geography, which means we're not reliant or restricted to any other host rail companies mandating when we need to pull over or not. So if we say that we can get somewhere in a certain amount of time, we can get there in a certain amount of time, barring an act of God. And then frequency. The working assumption is to establish a timeline that you don't need to schedule, whether it's every 30 minutes, every 45 minutes, every hour, you know a train's going to be coming. Next slide, please. As part of the project, the federal government mandated 7 station areas. They are from west to east: Toronto, Peterborough, Ottawa, Laval, Montreal, Trois-Rivières, and Quebec City. The specific stations within those 7 station areas have not been identified. As your worship mentioned, the alignment has not been identified. We officially became a project in February. We brought in our private development partner, which I'll speak to in a moment, in March, and we've begun a lot of the design and engineering work and a lot of the engagement work. Next slide, please. Our working assumption on getting people to places, an express train from Ottawa to Toronto, we are projecting under 2-hour travel time. From Toronto to Montreal in under 3 hours. The example I like to use, and I heard us all talking about the Jays, and this was a rough weekend for us baseball fans, but Quebec has an incredible culture of incredible baseball culture, and a young family of 4 in Montreal can now go to a Junior Jays game on a Sunday, leave in the morning, watch the game at 1, and be back in time for dinner, right? We are bringing communities closer and getting people to experience the great aspects of our communities. Peterborough to Toronto, you can get to downtown Toronto from Peterborough in under 40 minutes. And what that means, if you have a young postgrad or post-secondary student in Eastern Ontario that wants to get to go to University of Toronto and can't afford both the tuition and the residency or accommodations, they can still live within their community and attend classes. Next slide, please. As I mentioned, we do see about a 1.1% increase in the national GDP, which equates to about $34.5 billion year over year in economic benefit for the entire country. When you break that down, it's about $21 billion in productivity, $2.7 billion in workforce participation, and about 800 million in tourism. The 800 million in tourism is something that is very exciting for communities along the corridor. We have the support of the Ontario Tourism Association, as well as the Quebec Tourism Association, because they see the huge potential for folks to benefit from exploring both of our provinces. Next slide, please. The other thing I just want to spend a moment on is in this certain uncertain economic time with our colleagues from the South, a project like this, where it is made in Canada for Canadians, by Canadians with Canadian goods, is something that is incredibly crucial for our country. I'll also highlight that about a month ago, the Prime Minister identified the first 5 projects that were deemed projects of national importance. Our project was identified as being part of the second tranche, which will allow us to co-develop the project from 5 years to 4 years and shorten construction times after that. What that doesn't allow us to do is skirt the importance of public engagement and Indigenous engagement with our Indigenous communities. That's something that we will take very, very seriously throughout this entire process. Next slide, please. The project has 7 outcomes that we are working towards, and is helping identify the overall project alignment. I'll highlight just a couple. One is enabling safe intercity journeys. To do high-speed rail requires safety as your top priority. Making sure like an accident isn't an option when you're doing high-speed rail. And the idea is to be at 100% accident avoidance. We also want to make sure that we're minimizing financial costs to taxpayers. Every dollar that's coming to the project is a dollar from us as Canadian residents, and we want to certainly be respectful of how we spend it and how we return the investment on that dollar. And then the last one I'll just quickly speak to is our commitment to reconciliation with Indigenous peoples. There is the duty to consult requirement. To us, that is the base standard. We see this project as a meaningful tool for reconciliation with Indigenous nations. Next slide, please. As I mentioned earlier, as part of the Prime Minister's announcement, our private development partner was announced. We had 3 international consortiums bid for this project. And just as a point of reference, having 3 consortiums bid on a project of this magnitude just shows the viability and importance of a project like this. The successful consortium was Cadence, which is a mix of international and Canadian companies with deep experience in delivering high-speed rail, as well as heavy rail in Europe. Next slide, please. We are currently at the beginning of the development phase. And the development phase is a process designed to ensure that we design the right corridor, the right alignment, that we engage with the public and stakeholders and municipalities across the corridor, that we meaningfully engage with Indigenous nations across the corridor, that we get the appropriate permits, we do the appropriate environmental assessments, we do the appropriate field studies, so that when we are done the development phase and we tell the federal government, here's our plan, here's the cost, here's the schedule, we can put shovels on the ground right away. The co-development phase isn't about more studies. The project, to pardon the pun, has left the station. It is a viable project. This is the closest we've ever been in actually advancing high-speed rail. And we hope that each segment of the project, once we have government approval to begin construction, will take about 5 to 7 years. And what that means is once a segment is complete, it goes into operation. We're not gonna do the entire 1,000 kilometers and then turn on the switch. Once a segment is done, that segment will begin operating that high-speed rail corridor. Next slide, please. And I have spoken about this in terms of establishing a corridor. I'll let my colleague Alexis, when we get into the engagement phase, speak a little bit more about this, but we don't have an alignment. I know there are lots of lines on maps that folks have seen in the past, but we are looking at a number of optional alignments that we can look at. What we have done is we've made a conscious decision as a Crown Corporation to create a wide corridor, about 10 kilometers wide, and in some cases, 2 wide corridors, where we will go engage stakeholders, we will go engage the public, we will go engage Indigenous nations for them to highlight where are your no-fly zones, where are environmental concerns that we need to be aware of, what landmarks do we need to be aware of. And all of that feedback, plus the technical work that's being done, will help reduce those corridors. In cases where there's multiple, eliminate some corridors, but get them down to where we can then have a preferred alignment, which we would then go back and talk about with the public. Next slide, please. And I'm going to pause there and turn it over to my colleague Alexis to talk about our engagement to date and our engagement upcoming.
So in parallel to our team, Peter and I are working in Ontario to engage municipal representatives, the public and stakeholders. We have an Indigenous relations team, and they've been working hard to share information with communities. There are over 40 across the corridor, and they have hosted over 150 meetings with community to understand their concerns, their interests, and build those relationships early on before any major decisions or asks are necessary from them. We've had a lot of support from those communities. In the announcement from Prime Minister Carney with C5 and the meetings that happened throughout the summer months, Indigenous communities shared that this project is one that others should emulate in those major projects for having done such a great work preparing Indigenous communities to understand what the project is and what the opportunities may be moving forward. Next slide. We've also been hearing a lot of support from elected officials throughout the corridor, from chambers as well, and the Tourism Ontario, as Peter highlighted earlier. There's been support from the perspective of seeing the economic opportunities, not only in the station areas, but throughout the corridor as well. In our time at Ontario East Municipal Conference, we had an opportunity to host a panel to share more information about the project and present to many municipal staff and representatives in Eastern Ontario. And while they recognize they may not have a station themselves, they do see the opportunities from an economic and employment perspective, with 1,000 kilometers of rail being required to be built in order for this project to be successful. Next slide. And I want to touch on the community benefits plan. This is in the early stages, but we recognize obviously the station areas and in conversation with Mayor Don Gianova, we've recognized that there are maybe more focus on the station areas from an opportunities perspective, right? It'll be transformational for Peterborough. But we know that we want to provide opportunities for the communities in between where that corridor will lie, or people who are going to be traveling more than an hour commute to access the service itself. So with that in mind, we're putting together a community benefits plan, recognizing the concerns and opportunities raised by the rural communities throughout Ontario and Quebec. To identify whether it's economic opportunities, employment opportunities, procurement, supply chain, how they can participate and be involved in this project as we advance through the development and construction phases as well. So this is in the early stages, and we will work with local communities to understand what benefits they're seeking from this project to see themselves in this high-speed rail project in Canada. Next slide. So being here today and presenting to council is important for us. We've been trying to find opportunities to brief elected officials in advance of our activities starting in January. to make sure that you understand what the project is at this particular stage and have an opportunity to ask your questions. So thank you again for having us today. In January, we will be launching our first public engagement wave, as we like to describe it, where we will be out hosting open houses. We will have an online consultation platform for people to connect with us in person. And in those events, there'll be opportunities to learn about the project. It'll be very educational forward. So what is high-speed rail? What does it look like? What's the experience like? What are the opportunities? And again, the maps of the corridor concepts, so how we will get from one station area to another, will also be presented to gather input from those who are with us in person, but also online on an interactive map as well. We will also be hosting a number of roundtable conversations in the station areas, but also in rural communities to understand what those concerns are for the project, identify potential mitigation opportunities, other economic opportunities, and listen to the questions, provide answers where we have them at this particular moment in the project development phase. And we will be reporting on the outcomes of 3 months of engagement, but this is not going to be the last time we are out. We're going to be continuing to be in your communities, throughout the corridor over the course of the development phase and beyond. But just to highlight these very tangible opportunities for folks to come learn more. It'll be starting in January, in through March, in the Eastern Canada.
Unless if I may, I'm not sure if I heard you correctly. Did you say that the route will be identified in January or?
No, corridor concepts will be presented on a map. And so those will be guided from corridors. In some cases, they'll be 10 kilometers in width. In some cases, they'll be tighter coming into city centers where obviously 10 kilometers into Toronto is not realistic. But it's a chance for us to understand what we don't yet know about those areas, places to avoid, areas of concern, that on the ground knowledge is not something that we have, especially over a project so expansive. And so being able to have conversations with stakeholders, the public and municipal representatives, gather that input will be essential for refining to alignment.
So would you say a corridor? That means you've identified some trajectory of how this is going to happen. You just don't know where in that corridor it's going to be.
Correct.
Okay, thank you for that.
Yes, good clarification. And next slide then. And underlying all of our work is the importance of being transparent, open with our communications, sharing information and knowledge and answering the questions we know, being honest around where we're still gathering insights and don't yet know what way we're going or have those answers, and making sure that we're getting local input across this corridor and across the project is fundamental, and ensuring that we are also creating respectful two-way communications with everyone we're having conversations with.
Alexis, if I may again, did Warden Mullen reach out to you about coming to Hastings County Council to present?
We are presenting at the end of the month, yes.
Oh, sweet, okay, wonderful.
Through you, your worship, thank you, council, for taking the time to hear our project update. Happy to take questions, and the questions we can't answer today, I'm committed to getting back to you with answers.
Thank you. Anybody have any questions? Yes,
Just a really quick comment for you, Peter, that if there was a stop and Tweed, you would have been here a lot earlier.
I think that's right.
Oh, yes, Councilor.
I spoke with Alexis at the Good Roads. And about ridership. So I'm a poor farmer. Can I get on that train? I think you explained it in detail. And I don't know if you really want to do that right now, but there's room for everyone. Is that what you're, okay, good. And another question.
Do you want to elaborate? No, you're good.
There's certainly room for everyone on the train in terms of the different personas of those that will take the train. It will ride the gamut of tourism, business, in some cases, commuter travel, if you're going from Peterborough to Toronto.
Yeah.
And we're still, you're gonna be tired of me saying this, in the early phases, but the fare structure will be designed in a way that accommodates the vast diversity of those that we want to take the train.
I think that's what Alexis explained to me.
Okay.
So another thing, a question I have is, so you've got a rail going.
Yeah.
From one point to another. What about coming back? Have you got off, tracks so they can pass each other, or have you got two lines?
So you'll definitely need to double track
Okay, good.
along the corridor so that you have two-way all day.
Okay,
The other thing about high-speed rail, being open and transparent is there's no level crossings,
no,
right? Because of the safety issues. Where possible, it will be fenced. So that people can't cross or have easy access, to the system. It will be electrified as well, so there is no diesel use, it is all electric. Which, contributes to our carbon emission offset. But there will be impacts, right? Land acquisition, severance of land is something that will have to happen across the corridor. Which is why here in Ontario, we've already started early conversations with the OFA, with the Christian Heritage Farmers Federation, to understand how we should engage, how we should interact, what are the concerns that the farmers and agricultural communities will have during the delivery of this project. We want to make sure we do this right. We're obviously going to have conversations throughout the years that we're going to be delivering this project, but as long as we are open, transparent, and respectful with each other, I think that is the key to the successful delivery of a project of this magnitude.
I guess, Deputy Mayor.
You had mentioned in your speech about access within about an hour. We're kind of unique here. We're about an hour and 10 minutes from Peterborough and over 2 hours to Ottawa. I think if the goal is to alleviate congestion off the highways and speed up travel, and I think it will. I think there needs to be a little more access from this area. I mean, if I'm gonna drive to Peterborough, I'm gonna say, you know what, I'm gonna go all the way to Toronto now, I'm already halfway here, right? And the other thing too is, in Europe, the train is cheaper than to drive. And maybe the federal government needs to look at their fare structure very closely, and even if, and make it affordable for people that, to dissuade them from driving their cars into downtown Toronto or Ottawa or Montreal. Just to make that a success, I feel.
Deputy Mayor, that's an excellent point. And we say an hour as just a broad range. Tweed is an hour and 10 from Peterborough. You factor in the hour and 10-minute drive and then a 40-minute commute into downtown, you're talking just under 2 hours. But one of the consistent comments and feedback we get from communities that are outside of the station areas is, how are you going to help us get into those station areas easily and efficiently, so that it is a competitive option to driving or to flying. So that's important. When we talk about the price of a fare, you're absolutely right. It has to be competitive, because the challenge that rail has is there's a lot of latent costs when we think about driving and flying that folks don't think about with trains. So when you think about driving, you don't factor in the cost of your insurance, the cost of your wear and tear when you do a road trip. You just say, okay, gas is going to cost me $250 round trip. When you're flying, you don't factor in the hour and a half that you have to be at the airport early and the 30 minutes you're waiting for your luggage after. So with fares and time savings, there's a lot that has to be calculated, but the fare has to be competitive and has to make it something that is enticing for commuters to take high-speed rail over other options.
I think too, if I may, at this point in time, in this picture, Via is still here in the south. And that's our chance to, drive down to be able to catch a train. I mean, if that's something we want. I don't know if that's going to be the future, but right now in these discussions, there's no talk of the Via's demise.
Via is an incredible artery for Eastern Ontario residents to travel along the northern shore of Lake Ontario, and it'll continue to be an important artery for commuters. We don't see that changing in any way.
Okay, if we, one more question if we may.
And you don't need to go into detail, but as you work through this, you're gonna free up space on the main line, freight trains. So that will improve the freight service as well? Are you working that detail as well, or is that somebody else?
So in terms of freight, our dedicated corridor will have interfaces with a number of different host rail services, whether it's freight, whether it's Metrolinx, whether it's Via, there'll be interfaces on our dedicated corridor. But there won't be freight on our corridor.
No, not on yours, but as you put this rail service in play, you're gonna free up all that space on the main line down here.
I don't know the answer to that,
Okay.
but that's something we can get back to you on that.
Okay,
Okay, well, thank you both very much. I really
Thank you.
appreciate you making the trip down here. Peter from Toronto and Alexis from Peterborough. So thank you very much for joining us today. And you do not have to sit through the rest of our council meeting. You are free to go.
It
So
was
thank
a
you.
real pleasure meeting everyone, and thank you for the time.
Absolutely.
Thank you. Okay, moving along. Could I have a mover and a seconder to table the CIA update as of October 14th, 2025, please? Thank you, Councilor Ellicott. Thank you, Deputy Mayor DeMarsh. Any questions? I guess I'll turn it over to you, CIO Discreet. Sorry about that. Didn't give me a chance to say goodbye.
Thank you, and through you, Mayor. Just going over the CEO update. Again, I need to emphasize how pleased I am and how excited I am to work with this team. It never ceases to amaze me how this team comes together, supports each other, continues to deliver outstanding service to our community. So special thanks to Lucas, our deputy clerk, for stepping in while Lori was away on some well-deserved time off. I need to say a very heartfelt thank you to Karen LaValle for coming in and assisting us during a time of staff shortages. And of course, I would be remiss to not include Julianne and Kate for their work diligently getting our tax notifications out, and all the other administrative functions they do, including water billing as well. Moving on to the second issue there, Circular Materials Ontario. We had a meeting with them on Thursday, October the 2nd. This was an information center. I'm sorry to say that our ICIs, which are our institutions, commercial and industrial amenities in the community, will not be eligible for curbside pickup, regardless of their size. We were told that if we wanted to, at our expense, we could accept them and transport the ICIs recyclables at our depot. So that's an option we will not be entertaining. Third, as the mayor indicated, our open house on October 9th for our battery energy storage systems was postponed. And just a quick update that Enbridge Gas will begin the Tweed Community Expansion Project on October 15th. Approximately 10 weeks for this project, commencing or ending in December 23rd, 2025. And also, we have received a number of complaints from our residents regarding new builds. Apparently, or one of the issues is that the house, once built, is not assessed by impact for a couple of years after the building of the house, which then triggers back taxes or taxes on the new evaluation for a few years before the original or the final assessment has been made. So staff have come up with a insert for the building permits that will inform our residents that this could happen to them, most likely will, and that they should be prudent with their cash flow and ensure that they have the ability to pay once those new taxes have been assessed to their property. Thank you.
Any questions as you just, yes, Council Fitton.
your worship, I spend a lot of time at the wayside, trying to figure out what we can do, and apparently there's a bin with a top on it. I went to try to see if I could see it. There's supposed to be one over near Two Loons somewhere, but anyway, it wasn't there. Anyway, they got a set of steps that go up into this thing, you hold it from the top, so the guys don't have to. The guys are steady shoving this stuff in there. The other thing is, I don't know where in this contract it says that they have free access to that building. That building is full of garbage. The guys not on the weekend, but on a Tuesday, whatever, they load out whatever they can. They figure out, a happy medium where they're not gonna have to take it back in there. It's ridiculous.
I don't
The
think
effort
anybody's gonna
the effort
disagree.
lost and the money that's costing us. And I know you've been working your tail off to try to fix this thing. I don't know how we can do it.
I just through the mayor, yes, I'm familiar with the top loading bins. We are at the mercy of Circuit Materials Ontario and 360 with what they provide us. We've made mention of the issues that we are having with the staff. Also, I believe we have another an extra bin coming to reverse or to dispose of the backlog that's in that building. So we should be getting that shortly, I believe.
Yeah, that's correct.
Is that permanent? Excuse me, remember, is that a permanent, an additional one or just temporary?
This is just a one-off to try to get rid of our backlog.
Okay, thank you. I mean, the whole process is absolutely ridiculous. I think all of us will agree. Very little consultation through it, and then we have people who are suffering at the end of the day as a result, but yes.
Here, one more quick thing, like, so we're into this thing for a year? This contract with these people, 360?
We're on a year-to-year contract with them at this time, I believe. We are in the process. I just received a survey from Circuit Materials Ontario about our depot. So we are waiting to see if our depot contract is going to be renewed. I sent some information in last week regarding the number of households that are not on curbside pickup, which is substantial. I don't think we're in a danger of losing our depot, but we have to go through some paperwork and go through that process.
Okay, thank you. Be it resolved that council receives the area update report as presented, all in favor. Could I have a mover and a seconder to table the 2026 regular council meeting schedule, please? A mover and a seconder. Thank you, Councilor Valiquette. Thank you, Councilor Monfetier. Over to you, CAO Disky.
Again, through the chair, this is a report that is requesting a change in our council meeting schedule. Currently, we meet twice a month for most months, the first and the fourth, the second and the fourth Tuesday of the month, with the exclusion of July and August and December. This is a request that we have a meeting every third week now, starting in January of the new year. With the first meeting or every other meeting being an evening meeting and every other meeting being a daytime meeting. Again, the frequency in July, August, and December would be one meeting a month through that month. Overall, this will allow staff a better opportunity to build capacity in their workload. It will allow us to, I guess, and for lack of a better term, catch our breath in between council meetings. As we finish this meeting, we will start eventually, like tomorrow, working on the next council meeting, making sure that we have our reports in, that the agenda is posted on time. So this will allow staff to build a little bit of capacity. The difference in the meeting schedule that we are now compared to the proposed one is only 4 meetings less a year. And I believe we can get the business of the municipality done in that time frame. Thank you.
Any questions? Yes, Councilor Flavor.
Your worship, the only thing I worry about is the government sends out information packages and oftentimes we see that we're a week late. So what happens now, and I see in here that we can be called at a moment's notice almost to have a special meeting, but I fear that we could possibly miss an opportunity for funding, whatever.
I would think that typically you will get 6 to 8 weeks notice on these funding things. It's still short turnaround. Still gives us time to have staff look at it and get back to us. But I mean, if it was a critical situation, like you say, there's no problem in calling an immediate council meeting for us to address the situation. I do have a comment. I think if we do it, abide by this, I would move the December 1st to December 8th. Because that's a long time before you would get into the following January. So it would just be like a 4-week period. Yes, Councilor Palmetier.
Through the mayor, my only concern is that. What I found is. I know as we get into the summer months, that staff take holidays and things like that, and that's why we've had this schedule. But we end up with those people that may have had plans to. Do construction or things like that, or we have construction projects on the go, and then it kind of holds everything back. I understood, like, it made a lot of sense when we had. 2 meetings a month, every 2 weeks. But I don't know if we'd stay on the 3-week pattern through the summer, if that would be. Possible, or if it's just doesn't look like it would work with the limited staff through the holiday season.
I'm sorry.
So through the summer, like we've had it in the past, some people that maybe had plans to build or do construction, or we have construction projects. And then we're waiting a full month to address those issues again, or to have the next meeting.
Oh, you're talking about individuals within the community.
Individuals within the community or our own construction projects where there's a change work order that comes back to us that's too large for our staff to make the decision. And then we have to wait a full month. I just didn't know if we'd be able to stay on the 3-week schedule through that. It stays more consistent for those people. Just a thought.
So basically just continue the 3-week schedule. Throughout July and August.
Yeah, that was what I was. I don't know if it'd work or not.
You still may, and we end up with one in July,
Yeah,
and then 2 in August.
no problem. Okay, go ahead, Deputy Mayor.
Through the mayor, I had the same thoughts as what Councilor Palmetier just said. I mean, years ago, they only used to have 1 meeting a month. And they changed it because it was holding up planning side issues, just like what Councilor Palmetier was saying. The other thing too is our meetings now consist of a lot of material in 2 weeks. I'm just thinking, my God, what's gonna be in 3 weeks? Those are the 2 things that come to my mind.
One of the things too, that I do when I'm sending stuff out to all of you is, I don't wait. To have it all go out as part of a council package. I send it out to you in advance as soon as I get it, so you can look at it, so that when we get our council package, you've already read it, you don't have to worry about spending time. Maybe if we can get staff to do stuff like that as well, rather than getting it all. Because I agree with that Deputy Mayor Demars that right now, we're like reading a novel sometimes every week, every meeting. Go ahead.
So just to build on the conversation. And I'll be honest, I like daytime meetings, but daytime meetings are difficult for the larger population to get to. I would suggest that maybe when we have meetings, I don't know how this impacts everybody. But if we're having 1 meeting a month, that it be in the evening. If we have, if it's a month, it's just 1 meeting, that it would be an evening meeting, so it gives people the opportunity to get it.
Go ahead.
So some quick stupid math leaves us with 1 meeting in July and August on a 3-week rotation meeting. So it stays the same, it just.
It's the same.
Consistent. Yeah, so it'd be the 21st of July, the 11th of August, and then it'd be right after Labor Day. It'd be. How the schedule would change if we stayed on this period. But I think the consistency at 3 weeks also lets someone know if they just missed a meeting. It's 3 weeks,
And we'll probably end up moving that December one that I was just talking about later in the month as well. By switching everything. Okay, so rather than make the change immediately, could we look at rescheduling what's proposed here, and then come back for the next council meeting so that we can take a look at it? Because this is, this is beginning of October, so our October 24th meeting, we can, yes, go ahead.
Yeah, through the chair, that's absolutely fine, but I was just gonna say that if we looked at the calendar, we could go August 4th, August 25th, possibly. And then continue on a 3-week schedule, which will probably move the December. We'll do the
And I'm fine with that, but everybody else is.
Hmm.
And going back to Council Valley Cat, making these all evening meetings.
Your worship, do we just keep it consistent, just go back and forth? Morning, evening, even if there's only one those 2 months, if it went,
Oh, yeah,
just went, and then it's consistent. Again, right?
but I think what Councilor Valley Cat was saying, that if we move them all to the evening, then that gives everybody an opportunity to come, just get away from the morning meetings, is that?
Yeah, it was just in the months, but there was only one meeting. Cause they all appear to be.
Oh, I see, you're saying keep some of the day meetings,
Yes.
okay. Because I'm going to be put forth a proposal to move all of our meetings to the evening. For the next council in particular, so that we can get more people running for council, because a lot of people can't commit during the day. Who might want to sit on council. That meetings would be in the evening, which would give everybody a chance to run for council if they so desired. Not having to worry about getting time off work in the day. However, you did say, okay, anyway. I'm open to do, if we just want to do what Ron has done, proposed, and put yours aside, I mean, my interpretation of what you said aside for now, and Jamie, are you totally confused?
Well, I think if we just, like you said, let's have them go back and take another look at it, all helps. I think that's something.
We're okay to do that? Let's do that. Okay, we got lots of time. Okay, yeah, okay. And then maybe take into account some of the things that are around the table and see what works, if it doesn't work. Okay. So,
Well, I mean, before we move on. And if we could, and in this whole look, can we take a look at how it will impact specifically planning, if there would be any impacts like what Councilor Palmer has mentioned, like impacts to that side of it, like we're going to hold up projects and stuff for individual.
what do you want me to read here, Lori? Be it resolved that council
They
asks.
would defer it to the.
Okay, council has deferred this until our next meeting, discussion and decision until our next meeting, thank you. Okay, could I have move in a seconder to table the automated speed enforcement update, please? Thank you, Councilor Belkett, thank you, Councilor Fleeler. Over to you again, Councilor Lodisky.
And through the chair, this is following up on our last meeting on August the 12th. Council reviewed our report titled Automated Speed Enforcement and passed the resolution there before you to us to report back. So this is a very interesting file. Spoke to a lot of different people and had a lot of input from different municipalities, including Belleville. Spoke to a gentleman named Joe Reed there. Anyway, there's a number of steps that we should be taking prior to moving forward with this. Number one would be to develop a community safety zone policy, as we all know that the automated speed enforcement can only be put in these types of zones. Evaluate the areas of concern, which I'll get to in a little bit. I did provide some traffic data in this report. Collect data in these areas after they become community safety zones. And then, of course, we're going to collect data again once we have the proper signage up. So this is all saying that the data we have today is not necessarily the data that we will achieve prior to putting in the speed cameras, but after we change it to community safety zones. So different signage, different opportunities to change the behavior of our drivers in our municipality. We would need to prefer or determine who our preferred ASC camera rental people would be. We do not want to purchase these at all or run them ourselves. We would need to train our staff, and then we need to determine, one of the most important items would be if we're going to go through an AMP system or through provincial offenses court. If we go through provincial offenses court, we would have to partner with Hastings County, use their court system. And of course, part of the fines would be recovered by them based on an agreement we make to cover their costs as well. So just looking at some of the traffic data, we were able to set up a piece of equipment that collected data for us. The first one was set up at Memorial Park. for 28 days. As you can see, during that time period, we had 191,098 vehicles go through the area. Based on our data we collected, 78,982 vehicles were between 0 and 10 kilometers over the posted limit. The posted limit there is 50 kilometers per hour. We had 10,589 vehicles go through there between 10 and 20 kilometers over the speed limit. And then 209 vehicles go over 30 kilometers per hour. Okay, but again, I want to emphasize that this is done before a community safety zone was installed and before we put up a speed camera or signage saying speed camera up ahead or coming in 90 days.
The mayor, what's the criteria for designating a community safety zone?
You must have either a school, a park, or a vulnerable sector area like a retirement home.
So we're doing the Memorial Park and the Memorial Parkette because that's a.
That would be an opportunity to have a community safety zone in those areas.
Thank you.
Like looking at the Parkette at the other end of town, we had 208,000 vehicles go through that area. Again, 71,986 were over or between 0 and 10 kilometers over the posted limit, which is again 50 kilometers at that end. Between 10 and 20 kilometers over, 35,318 vehicles. And plus 30 kilometers over the posted limit was 926 vehicles, and this was in a 29-day period. The only other thing to talk about now is that recently in the news, the Quebec government has indicated that they will be passing legislation that will disallow the use of automated speed cameras in municipalities. So going to our recommendation that you receive this information receive this report for information now, and that we put a pause on this opportunity until we have what the new legislation will be, or until that has been presented to the province.
I would agree with that. I was just wondering, when you capture the speeds, do you also get times associated with when this is happening?
I don't believe we do, no. So we don't know
Yeah,
what
we
time of.
We do, sorry.
We do?
Sorry, yeah, we do.
Okay.
So then, and it's an interim measure, then we could notify the police that we want them to be in our community at these times, because these are where we have the most infractions. Over to Councillor Valiquette.
We could share this with the.
No, I was going the same way. I was thinking to kind of put this on hold for a bit, but this is great information for the detachment, especially if we can associate times to the speeds, because then they feel they're not going to be wasting their time looking. They know when to be here, so.
Any other questions? Yes, Councillor Fleetwood.
So, your worship, I thought we had 2 of these units here.
Sorry,
Do we not have 2 of these units here?
in the chair now, we only have one unit
Okay.
that we rotated around.
Well, anyway. I've always said that we've got a problem, and many other members of the council and community have also said that. The other side of the coin is that people have to realize that if we put the automated speed, which Ford is nullified right now. You get a fine. If you get 10 to 20 over
I'm sorry.
3 points. So you're gonna lose, you're $195, I think the last fine I paid. And you got 3 points. You didn't get 3 points, they took 3 away from you. So the people have to realize it, and how do you slow them down? You either put the cameras in, and Ford won't allow that. Signage, maybe, if we identify the zones. And just put a sign up. Speed radar enforced. All you gotta do,
We've got,
for the time being.
We do
I
have
think-
those.
What's that?
We do have those.
we do have those signs.
Coming in. I know from coming in from my way, from the north.
Yeah, I don't think there's one in the south, but there is one in the
No,
north.
I haven't seen it, I don't know.
That's fading.
Maybe I'm going too fast, but anyway, anyway. You know, people need, they wanna get from A to B. Right now, and why?
No idea.
Well, I think what's good here is we now actually, we always say, what's the data, what's the data, you know, we've got the data and it's way worse than I ever thought it was.
Oh, yeah,
So I think as an interim measure, I don't want to spend any more time and resources on this until we hear what the Ford government's position is going to be. But we do gather the information and provide it to the OPP. For those critical times where most of the infractions are happening and have police stationed here. And like, I think it was Deputy Mayor Demers, you know, or whoever said it. We want them to know that they wouldn't be wasting their time by just sitting there. We've given them the criteria to know that these are the best times to be stationed. Go ahead, yes.
So I just want to say that it's more than just the detachment. On the weekend, I was engaged with the policeman, not for any Jim's type stuff. But he was actually out of Napanee, so he was from the Highway Safety Division in our municipality doing speed enforcement.
Okay.
So I think maybe when we have this discussion with the detachment, you could also invite the broader support that the OPP can offer us, not just the detachment.
But Deputy Mayor, do they allow us and do they let us know when they've had it? When they find people for speeding in our community? Is there any way we can get them to report back to us too, so that we can see how? It's, I don't know.
I don't think that they do. I don't think, I don't remember seeing it on well, there's actually no OPP
Yeah,
report
there's
on
nothing there.
nothing, they're just major incidents. I mean, I can ask for it. It's something they probably can pull up fairly easily.
Because we could say then to the public too, that we are monitoring, working in partnership with the OPP to show that they've been here in these certain time slots that we provided them, and this is how many people have been found.
Now, the only thing that's like Councillor Valiquette said is, with the detachment commander will have to probably try to pull the highway safety division info as well, because he might not necessarily know when they're there, right, so.
We can just look at it.
Okay.
The numbers are around.
They are, yeah, okay, one more question, and then we move on. I'll ask Councillor Palmetier if he has anything up to you.
Your worship, just a quick crunch on the numbers. 50% of the people that come into Tweed are speeding. That's not an accurate, but that's 50% or more.
There you go, okay, did you have any comments you'd like to make?
Your worship, the only comment I have is the 0 to 10, 51 kilometers an hour, I don't consider speeding. It is still a main thoroughway. But it is still, there are a lot of numbers, the 30 kilometers an hour over is extremely alarming. They're usually the people that you follow going 80 all the way from Belleville, and then they don't even change speed as they come through 20.
Okay, thank you very much, so let me just see here. Okay, be it resolved, the council received the automated speed enforcement update report as presented, and further the council directs staff to pause this investigation until the provincial government introduces legislation regarding the future use of automated speed enforcement, and furthermore to provide the general with data for those particular times where there have been infractions. Okay, doke, all in favor? Thank you. Could I have a movement and seconder to table the municipal ice storm assistance program, please? Movement said, thank you, Councilor Valiquette, thank you, Councilor Flayler. Over to you again, CAO Diskey.
Again, and through the chair, thank you. In March of 2025, this year, we did receive some damage to our community through the ice storm. The province has provided municipalities with an opportunity to apply for funding through the Municipal Ice Storm Assistance Program. Part of the responsibility of the municipality is to present the application to council along with council's effort to provide a resolution that will support this. So this application, if approved, will recover 75% of incremental costs arising from the ice storm that occurred in March. I believe our loss, we've been restricted on what we can claim. A lot of our hours that our work staff work were taken in lieu and they became ineligible. So we are requesting approximately $9,000 in funding, plus with some of our contract costs and our firefighter costs or volunteer firefighter costs at that time.
It is unfortunate that they will not give us the additional funds that we've had to incur, but this is typical. Okay, any questions of CIO Diskey? Okay, thank you. Be it resolved that council receive the municipal ice storm assistance program reports presented, and further, because the municipality has eligible costs directly linked to the March 2025 ice storm, the council of the corporation of municipality Tweed hereby requests assistance under the municipal ice storm assistance program, and further that CAO Ron Diskey is given delegated authority to verify and attest to the accuracy of the attached application package. All in favor? Thank you. Could I have a mover and a seconder to table the treasurer's report on annual debt payment limit and debt service capacity impact on 2026 budget and other years? Now, I just want to ask everybody to refresh. There has been an update on that. And I'm going to turn it over to you, Cindy.
Oh, good morning, Your Worship and Council. I'm here to bring bad news. Sorry. Always here to bring bad news. What I've brought to you is just kind of an eye opener to get you prepared for the 2026 capital budget. So what I wanted to go over here, slide, these are the things I'm covering here, is how much do we currently pay in debt servicing? How much more can we borrow? What is the ADRL? What is the DSCR? How much do we need to borrow? What can we do? And total tax rate increases related to capital. Next slide. So how much do we currently pay in debt servicing? So in 2024, we have this lagoon borrowing that we had from, I guess, a few years ago, and it's costing us $132,000 a year. Plus, we had construction financing, and that was covering, it was the Pomeroy, McClellan, Joe Allure Bridge, and the Queensboro Hall. So the construction financing, it's interest only when it's in construction financing, so there's no principal that paid on that debt. So in 2024, the total payment was $322,000. In 2025, so we have again the construction financing that we just converted to a debenture as of November. So as of November, it'll start, we'll start paying down the principal. But the total debt payments in 2025 are $279,000. In 2026, so there's another loan or another amount that we're borrowing for 2025 that just hasn't, we brought the first, I think, bylaw to you. Infrastructure Ontario have it. They keep sending it back because I have to keep making changes to it. But hopefully that'll be approved before the end of the year. But it's the amount that we need to borrow for 2025, and it's about 1.3 million that we're borrowing for 2025. So the interest and the debt payments for that won't probably start happening until 2026. So just based on that, in 2026, our total debt payments are going to be $525,000. One thing I want to note that from 2025 to 279, from 279,000 to 525,000, that's a $246,000 increase in operating costs. And that's equal to a 4.3% tax rate increase. Just that alone. If all our operating costs are the same, that increase in debt payments is a 4.3% tax rate increase. Slide.
Through the mayor.
Oh, yes, please go ahead.
So on whatever page, the previous one, 2026 lagoons, so it says new debt from 2025. Can you tell us what that is, or can you tell me what that new debt is that we're?
Yes, so in your 2025 budget, the budget had budgeted for about $2.5 million, and essentially that was just your funding needed in order to cover all your capital requirements. But because the capital was reduced, the debt payments were reduced, or the debt financing. So that dropped to about $1.5 million. But it's not like specific financing, it's kind of like, you know, if you need $10 million and you're only generating $8 million, you have to come up with the extra $2 for in financing, and that's essentially what it is. And it'll cover capital. It's covering, what is it covering? It's covering a couple of the large, there's a snow plow or something and another piece of equipment, the grader. It's covering one of the vehicles. It's covering some of the costs of the bridges that we're bringing in. So that's what that's covering. But when we borrow typically, or when we budget to borrow, we don't really know what we're covering. Like, it's kind of like, we know we have to cover capital, it has to be capital, it can't be operating costs. So it's kind of like when you get down to it, you go, okay. This is what I'm telling, this is what I'm giving to Infrastructure Ontario that I'm going to finance. And for us, it's good to finance bridges because we can amortize it over 30 years. Versus a vehicle can only amortize it over 5 years and equipment maybe 10 years, 10, 20 years.
Thank you.
Okay. So, next slide. How much more can we borrow? Well, it kind of depends on the methodology. So according to the ADRL, which is the annual debt repayment limit, and that's information, it's coming from the province and it's based on our FIR. According to them, we can borrow up to $18 million over 30 years, which means we can increase our annual debt payments by $1.1 million. And that's equal to a 19.7% tax rate increase. We know we can't do that. However, now the province may say you can borrow this, but then we go to Infrastructure Ontario, they have a different methodology on looking at what we can actually borrow. And they look at our debt service capacity. And according to the situation we're in right now, if we didn't do anything for 2026, we can only borrow another $2.4 million over 30 years. Maximum amount of borrowing we can do based on their criteria. That means that the annual debt payment can only be increased by $150,000 a year. And that $150,000 is again a 2.6% tax rate increase.
So if I may. We passed a bylaw recently, allowing us to go up to 25%, which would be that 18 million, then I take it.
Yes,
So actually, it was an exercise in futility because you're saying we can't even borrow near that anyway.
well, just because of the situation we're in right now with the debt service capacity, yes. Yes. So, and Infrastructure Ontario used that to determine whether they'll lend money, and it has to, the ratio has to be greater than 1.0. Banks will lend money at a ratio less than that. Because I know in a situation I was in a prior municipality, we couldn't borrow from Infrastructure Ontario, but we were borrowing from the bank. The bank gets a higher interest rate. So it's best to borrow from Infrastructure Ontario. Slide. Oops, sorry. What is the ADRL? It's annual debt repayment limit. It's the amount the province will allow a municipality to pay annually in debt. It's coming from the Ontario Regulation 40302, debt and financial obligation limits. It uses financial information, FIR, our return that we submit to the province, and it's 25% net own source revenue less existing debt. All that was kind of blah, blah, blah. Sorry, this slide sort of shows what that means. So 25% of our own source revenue. Own source revenue means they don't include grants. So in 2023, our own source revenue was $6.6 million. And it's determined by taking a gross revenue of 11.1, subtracting all your grants and deferred revenue of 4.5, and the result is $6.6 million. And then they're saying, okay, this is the maximum. If you borrow, you can't borrow above that, or you have to put more. So they're saying that we can afford to pay $1.6 million in debt annually, and we can't. So, and what this is telling you then, we have existing debt of $132,000. We have the debenture payment of $252,000. We have the new debt coming in. So in 2026, the total debt that we have is $525,000 annually. They're saying we can borrow an extra $1.1 million. And again, we know that's not affordable, but that's just to explain what it is. And if we increased our debt, sorry, next slide. If we increased our debt payment by $1.1 million, what that means is we could borrow these amounts of money. We could borrow 18 million over 30 years. That would cost us $1.1 million a year in debt. And the amortization then is based on the type of asset too, like we're saying, if we borrow for bridges, we can amortize this debt over 30 years. For a vehicle, it's only 5 years.
But you're saying the province would not give us that 18 million.
They would, but, I mean, they won't give it to us.
Yeah.
They will tell us that they think we can borrow that.
Yeah, but we can't borrow from Infrastructure Ontario, we'd have to borrow from another facility.
Yes. Okay, next slide. What is DSCR, debt service capacity ratio? It's the amount used by Infrastructure Ontario to determine how much they will lend. It's calculated by using your operating surplus before interest divided by annual debt charges, and it has to be greater than 1.0. In 2023, our operating surplus, now this is operating, we're not talking capital at all. This is operating revenue, operating costs. The surplus in 2023 was 329,000. That surplus goes to fund capital. But this is used in calculating debt. In 2025, the operating surplus or the budgeted surplus is only 372,000. That's not very much money funding capital when our capital movements are so great. Using 372,000 as operating surplus in 26. The annual amount of debt payments allowed by Infrastructure Ontario would be 675,000 per year. We're already paying 525,000 per year, means that we can only increase our debt per year by 150,000, which is only $2.5 million a year. So if we don't do anything, that's all we can borrow.
When you're looking at all of this debt, are you also looking at internal debt? Debt where we borrow for one reserve to pay for something, so there's also that debt.
That's not included then though in these calculations.
You're just looking at what we're gonna be able to borrow externally.
Next slide. So to show you some examples of this debt service capacity, the first column shows the items circled are annual debt payments that are associated with the debt service capacity. So in the first column, I circled 525,000, that's our annual debt, that what we're borrowing right now. And if you see operating surplus is 372, less or add back interest, operating surplus before interest is 595. And that's divided by the annual ADRL, you've got a ratio of 1.13, it's good. If you were to look at what the province says we could borrow, that $1.6 million, in this calculation, our debt service capacity is 0.41. We could not borrow that. And then when I'm saying what infrastructure will allow based on our current situation, what the additional they will allow is up to 675,000. We're already borrowing 525, but that's a 1.0 debt ratio, so we could do that. Next slide. So if we have an extra $150,000 that we're allowed to spend in debt per year, this is what this means. In 5 years, we borrow $691,000. It's kind of like, woohoo. So, in 30 years, we borrow $2.4 million.
Which is still, when you look at what we got, is nothing.
It's nothing. Next slide. I'm not sure how well you can read that. I can't even read it very well, but this is a picture of 10 years of capital, and this is coming from your 2025 10-year capital plan. I took the 2025 10-year capital plan. I revised 25 to pull out the things that we weren't doing, push those things into 2026. And this is kind of the plan that managers are working with right now to figure out, try and figure out what they need for capital for 2026 and the outer years. So you'll see in 2026, what I did though was I removed water and sewer because they're supposed to be self-funding. So the total capital, excluding water and sewer, is I think $8.7 million.
Can I just step in there for a minute?
Yes.
I removed water and sewer because they're supposed to be self-funding.
Well,
Now,
sorry.
okay, the Pomeroy, McClellan was water and sewer. Okay, why does that count into our other debt? Because that was a huge part of the debt that you've shown in here. Why would that not be hived off because it's water and sewer that's gonna pay for it?
Well, there's, the Pomeroy is split into three because I guess there's roads, sewer and water, right?
Mhm.
I'd have to figure out the answer to that question because I don't
Okay,
really
that's okay.
know.
Okay.
But I kind of felt that I should remove water and sewer off of
Yes.
this because it is self-funded, right?
And I have no problem with that. I just wanna make sure that we hive off that loan, which should be self-funded, because it will be covered.
And sorry, your worship, you're right, because that debt is in that part of the
Exactly.
budget. And so if the levy isn't sufficient, we're going to put more money from that reserve to fund that. So that is a zero, that comes up to zero. So yes, it is funding those two pieces of that debt.
Okay,
Yes.
thank you.
Yeah.
Just a question. Through the mayor, I was just thinking the same things he was, except for the fact, the thing is, the province isn't, or the province or Development Bank of Ontario, Canada, isn't going to recognize that as a separate payoff, like they look at the big picture, and this is how much you borrowed. It's not gonna acknowledge those car loans.
No.
And the other thing is what they don't take into account, kernel debt. Which it's not even in this report, per se.
I suppose because we could ultimately, council could decide, let's not do that. We're not going to fund it and stop that right now. Because that could be a decision that you made, but likely not the best decision.
Thank you.
So what I'm showing you here is the plan, the capital plan as it was. And then I'm showing you the funding. In fact, I can't even read my own words here, sorry. The funding coming in to fund capital, the federal funding is 389,000. The OSIP funding, 339, and that's half ours and half coming from the county. We have reserve funding that we're generating every year through the budget, and that is 280, whatever that number is, sorry, I can't read it. And then in 2025, you started actually funding infrastructure it was approximately like $96,000 a year. Then we have that little bit of surplus coming from operating, 372,000. Total funding for capital is like $1.5 million. And we have an $8 million capital budget. So in this particular case, you know, we need funding of like $7.3 million, which we can't get right now. So it doesn't look like a very good picture. So what can we do?
I just want to make an additional comment, if I may. One of the things that we have experienced during this term of council is that we have had to fund 100% of whatever we do. In previous years, the governments used to come with the third, and the third, or sometimes 75-25. That has not been our case. So if we looked at even at the McClellan, for example, which is about 3.7 million, if it was a third, and a third, we'd be looking at maybe 1.2 million would have cost us, which means we would have had increased borrowing capacity later for other initiatives. That's why there is no way as a municipality, small rural Ontario, that we can continue to deal with the infrastructure that we're going to be facing if we're going to have to pay this 100% on our own. No way. Back to you.
So, this next slide is what can we do? So we don't know yet exactly how much we need a year in capital. I know a prior asset management plan said $13 million. I personally think that's too high, and we have somebody working on it right now to figure out what do we really need. I think maybe the replacement values were quite high. Plus, there's a lot of decisions to be made with bridges and, you know, are you going to actually replace this bridge or not? So all I'm doing right here is making a suggestion. It might not even be possible, but what I'm saying is, if we can limit capital to $5 million per year, if we can limit it to $5 million per year. A 6% tax rate increase, 6% specifically for infrastructure. will generate $3.8 million by 2036 and over $5 million by 2040. So 6% starting now, and every year you're adding 6%. By 2040, you're funding your capital annually.
That's just capital, that's not operating.
That's just capital, and there's other, so my next slide is, we're new, because there's other debt, there's other tax rates associated. So in this particular case, so if you increase it by 6%, it's going to provide you with an extra $342,000 each year. It also helps increase our debt service capacity, which change our borrowing ability from 2.4 million to 7.7 million immediately. Like it's immediately that we could borrow 7.7 million. We're not going to, but it's a good thing because then it helps us to be able to come up with our funding.
When you say immediately, is it in year 2030 or 2031 that allows us to do that, or right immediately?
Immediately, 2026.
Because if we commit to that.
That extra $342,000 does that adjustment on the debt service capacity to bring it so that we could actually borrow 7 million in 26. We don't need to borrow that in 26. And so what I'm saying is, okay, so an additional 342,000 generates $3.8 million a year in 2036 minimum, because we know as inflation costs and 6% is going to be higher next year, right? So it's something that you really need to think about doing, because that's the only way you're going to be able to fund your capital. And it's so next slide. This is just a picture of what that looks like. So you start in 2026 with the extra 342, 2027, 342, 342, 342, and that shows you by 2036 that you're generating the $3.8 million. And that's minimum, because like I say, you've got all kinds of other increases happening and interest increases and a 6% tax rate increase this year is going to be different than 2 years from now. But this is just a plan to think about. So next slide. The only issue is that everything is costing money, right? So if you said you were 0%, you don't want to put any money towards capital for 2026. So you've got 0% going towards capital. You still have to fund that debt increase, which is a 4.3% tax rate increase. And then there's new financing that's happening from 25 that'll start in 26. So the total tax rate increase is 6.9% without anything extra going towards capital. And that, again, you're limited to borrowing $2.4 million, and you can only spend less than $4 million in capital. If you change that to a 2% tax rate increase to capital, that generates $1.2 million by 2036. The amount borrowed is 3.4, and that's the amount we actually need to borrow. With $5 million requirement, that's what we need to borrow in 26. So you're okay. But again, so it's 2% to capital, 4.3% cover the current increase, 3.7% to cover the new debt increase, and your rate increase is 10%. Next slide. And I don't like being the bearer of bad news, but I want you to understand the impact all this has. 4% tax rate and increase in capital generates $2.5 million by 2036. When I say 2.5 by 2036, I mean every year. At 2036, it's generating $2.5 million. We can borrow what we need to borrow in 26. So all the tax rate increases, that requires an overall 11.9% tax rate. And this is holding operating alone.
Yeah.
No increases in your operating other than this. And I don't know that we could do that, but because there's inflation increases that are going to impact operating. 6% tax rate increase for capital that I was talking about. The total tax rate increase is 13.8%. Anyway, I just wanted to bring that to you before we started looking at any kind of budget to help you understand what we're facing. Are there any questions?
What's the good news?
Yes,
Your worship, I have more of a comment and the deputy mayor's comment was there, but what's the good news? The good news is we finally had it laid out in front of us.
Yes.
That's the most comprehensive review of how to get out of the hole that we've ever had. And so thank you. That I know for everybody, nobody likes debt. The nature of what I do for a living, I have a pretty good understanding of that. And it's there is a light at the end of the tunnel. You don't want to be a politician in the municipality of Tweed. One party, but there is a way through this without help. It's not pleasant. Where unfortunately, it looks like the taxpayers of Tweed, they've had a discount for a lot of years, and we all know that that's not gonna last anymore. But no, I don't negative. I really appreciate seeing it laid out in front of us.
Thank you very much for that, Council Palmetier. And I think as we're entering our discussions on budget now, we got to keep this message in the forefront. Okay, we have to keep that. It has to guide us. Okay, when we're looking at operating, when we're looking at everything else that we've got coming, or what we're going to need to pull off our asset management plan and push aside. And I think that's coming up later. But we have to keep that message. Go ahead, CEO Disco.
Yeah, to the chair, I just wanted to thank Cindy for that comprehensive presentation. We felt that it was important that we had this information on the table prior to budget proceedings. And also prior to the asset management plan being completed. That should be done by the end of the year. We have a gentleman working on that right now, and he is doing a fantastic job, in my opinion. And you're gonna have another report coming forward from Ryan that will help us, or this will inform you on decisions that have to be done.
Very much. I just want to ask you, CEO Diskey, if I may. We have an application in front of the province right now for some funding to help with the water plant, and I don't know if we included the painting of the tower and that or whatnot. I can't remember now. Have we had any word on this?
Through you, Chair, did you know? No, we have not heard. We're gonna follow up. We've heard rumors that other municipalities are starting to hear news, but we have not heard anything at this time.
Because then again, there will be a certain degree, well, I guess we will be borrowing from water and sewer to towards that. Hopefully we can come up with our share. We'll see. Anyway, thank you very much. Yes, go ahead, Councillor.
Your worship. You alluded to the fact that the third thing worked for us for so many years. We always had the money in reserve to pay our share. We always had the money the next year in reserve to pay our share. We talked over the years about development. We put quite a bit of work into this idea, but we've gone nowhere. I don't know how we can start this, but we need to bring in more funds from the development side of things. I think we need to. I also contacted a person, and I apologize, I haven't had a chance to talk to Ron. Might have some ideas. Anyway, I'll present that to you, and I'm sorry I didn't do it. Anyway. I don't know, we need to try to get some consistent funding, and I know we'll work hard to do that, but somebody's gotta understand that if we keep neglecting all this work that has to be done, every year, the cost increases. The breakdown of our infrastructure increases. We need to somehow get somebody to work with us. I don't know how we're gonna do it.
I don't either.
Anyway, this young lady that I've talked to, she's presented some ideas. She's willing to help. Like, anyway, I'll present that to Ron and we'll see how we make out. And I also thought we've got significant maintenance costs. We've seen success with shared services. Is there a possibility that we could share mechanics with the county? With the big boys in the county like Trenton, Belleville. You know, they've got a great big fleet. They've got mechanics on payroll. Would it be possible to look at that? I think that would save us, and we've got the best mechanic in the world, but it's pretty hard to maintain, you know, 15 or 20 pieces of equipment by yourself.
That's operating, and that's a good one. Maybe we can look at it during operating.
Okay.
Yeah, okay, thank you. Yes, Councilor Bellican.
I will be brief. Cindy, thanks for this. I don't like it, but thanks. I'm curious to build on this. Can we get a similar type of report with respect to reserves and where we're sitting? And where the money's gone, what we've used it for, because our reserves are low.
Can we go back in time? That's a good, sorry.
Go ahead.
Can we go back in time too? Maybe last council, the council before that. Look at what we had in reserves, look at what was built, okay, look at what the government contributed. Okay, and then just follow the reserves, how they've gone from year to year to year, not tomorrow. I mean, like, you know, when you have a chance, like 2 years from
Can I
now.
pick that up at
This
5?
afternoon?
Yeah, but do you follow what I'm saying? And I don't expect you to have it done like anytime soon. I just like to know and be able to present our case to the province about what we've been doing.
You're looking for in the past, how much they funded of our capital expenditures then.
That's right. When you look at the reserves and you say, for example, okay, in the last council I was on 2014. There was a bridge that we needed to replace. We took from our bridge fund this amount of money from the reserve. Okay, the province and the feds had kicked in this much money, and this was the total value of the initiative. And then I want to just track that reserve, like, you know, to see, like, you know, were we building it up? Or I know it's going to be difficult, but you've done a great job on this thing, so that means you probably can do it.
Your worship, I think that information I'll be able to find it in the FIRs, right? Because I'll have all the grants that we've received and the amount we've spent. So it should be able to.
Okay, good enough. Thank you.
Mayor?
Yes.
One last comment. So just for all of us at the table and in the room, we need to learn from our past. Decisions were made by previous councils that have put us in a bit of a bind. Now, those decisions were all made by them at the time because they thought they were appropriate. And possibly they didn't have the fulsome information that you're providing us today. But we have that information. We have to move forward with the future of our community. And like Councilor Palmetier said, it's not going to be a good place to be on council for the next few years as we roll through this and try to break the ship, for the lack of a better description. But it is our opportunity to learn from what's behind us and move forward. So thank you.
And you're not the only one in this position, you know that across Ontario, I think everybody's in the same position. And I think a part of it was that they didn't, back in the past, didn't understand the cost of the infrastructure they had. And it wasn't until, I think it was like 2009, when public service or public sector standards, accounting standards brought in the fact that you got to put your fixed assets on your spreadsheet. We got to figure out what, you know, identify what it costs. And then people didn't understand that because they were expensing capital. That's what it was, expense. Nobody knew how much it would cost. So, you know, and to, I'm going to say something about politicians, sorry.
Okay, we talk about treasures.
I mean, and in the municipalities I've worked for, they weren't increasing the tax rate, not even by inflation, and in some cases, they are actually dropping it, and I saw that when I did this study on how much, it's crazy. And then it caught up with, and then I know with one, it caught up with, and it was an immediate 15%, it went for like 1%, 15%. Because, well, they had to fund $1 million reserve deficit that they had to fund, but it's too bad, but I mean, everybody's learning the lesson now, right? They're looking at this as a cost of our infrastructure. We have to replace this, and we have to plan for this, and plan for it over the life of the asset, so it's not just a 10-year plan, it's gotta be the life of the asset for every one of our assets. When are we replacing it? How much is that going to cost us? Make the plan and then figure out how to deal with it. But I mean, the only way you can deal with this, and unfortunately, it's tax rate. It's the only thing you have is the interest rate, right?
Yeah, right. You know, I do want to thank you. You laid it out for us, and it's not a pretty picture. I will say that this council has really tried and taken significant steps and unfortunately raising our taxes the way we've had to. But we're at a point where we're gonna have to continue addressing our situation. I think the other thing is the asset management plan was a great concept, is a great concept. Now, as you indicated, perhaps ours is overinflated and we're having that reviewed, so hopefully it's gonna bring down those numbers considerably, we're hoping. But the asset management plan, as frightening as it is a good eye opener about what we're facing, especially when you're in a community like ours in Hastings County, where we have 57 bridges. Our neighbors don't come anywhere near that. In fact, I think if you looked at all of Hastings County and added up the bridges in each of the municipalities, they might not even come up to 57 in total. And that's just our municipality. Over to you, and then.
So the mayor, just to build on what Councilor Malaketa said, and I think like you had said, Cindy, we're not alone in this. But two things have happened, and it's been mentioned at the table. Number one was the funding formula from the province and the feds has ended, and it ended about the same time as COVID hit. And when COVID hit, a new fire truck was $475,000. And we've lost our funding, but that same truck today is $1.2 million. A pickup truck used to be 42,000. Now that same pickup truck is 69, 70,000. And not to mention, the repairs, all this stuff that was blamed on COVID at the time, that never came back. So we were always a bit above inflation. We were staying with it because we had the means to support with the province and the feds. And we also, nobody could have predicted an increase to equipment, just like we've seen here. So I don't think we're the only one, and we're certainly not gonna be the last one dealing with this. But it's a difficult situation for all municipalities, not just ours, but we're all facing the same dilemma.
There's one thing I did want to mention too, the fact that you increased the tax rate the last couple of years was your saving grace. Because Infrastructure Ontario was almost not going to lend us the money for that. It convert the construction financing into a debenture. So you would borrow $3.7 million in construction financing that we were paying interest on. They almost weren't going to, they initially came back and said, no, because you fell below the 1.0. I'm going, what do you mean no? Because that would mean we'd have to pay it back. And you'd have to actually go to another bank and borrow that money. But luckily, with your interest rate increases in the last couple of years, you protected yourself from that. And they allowed you to take up the debenture for it. So good on you.
Well, thank you very much. Okay, great presentation. Always look forward to what you come back to us with. It's nice.
I don't know about that.
Yeah, no, well, I mean, it helps us plan. Okay, so we're grateful for that. Thank you.
Thanks.
Okay, be it resolved that council accept the Public Works Department update as presented. All in favor?
I didn't get a
Treasurer.
What did I say? Oh, sorry, I'm ahead. I moved ahead. Be it resolved that council receive the annual debt repayment limit and debt service capacity impact on 2026 budget and other years report as presented. All in favor? Thank you.
We did move in second, the treasurer.
Did you?
I think Jim and I put our hands up.
Okay, yeah. Okay, So you got that?
Okay,
Okay, and then all in favor? Thank you.
thank you.
Okay, yes, let's take a 5-minute break.
Although a lot of people hate it.
Yeah, I've gotten a lot of good feedback on that, so. It's been
Welcome back. Could I send over to seconder to table the Public Works Department update as of October 14th, 2025. Thank you, Councilor Valiquette. Thank you, Councilor Wheeler, excuse me. Are there any questions of Ryan on his report? Seeing none. Be it resolved that council accept the Public Works Department update as presented. All in favor? Could I have a move in a seconder to table the Municipality of Tweed Bridge rationalization, please? Move in a seconder. Thank you, Councilor Valiquette. Thank you, Councilor Palmetier. Over to you, Ryan.
Through the chair, so we're just looking to kind of see when we might be able to update our asset management plan. We got that coming up right now. We're trying to get a good idea where we need to be in the future with these bridges. What I'm recommending isn't actually, closing these bridges, say today, but it's kind of looking at a more sustainable goal and just letting these kind of reach their end of life and then addressing them then. That way we're not saying today, hey, we're going to close these 8 bridges right now. We're going to let them get to the end of their life and then make a decision when that time comes. But by making this decision today, we can feed our AMP with good information and essentially take, I think it's $13 million off the table and kind of help our budgeting down the road.
We would, if I may, we would continue to maintain the bridges, like, cleaning do as much, extend the life as long as we possibly could.
That's correct. We'll still do our regular maintenance plan on them and not this year, I guess not next year because we have our OSIMs coming through, so they'll be inspected again. But I will recommend at the 2027 budget that we look at doing an annual inspection on these bridges. We don't plan on maybe putting capital costs or capital funds back into. That way we just keep a closer eye on them and their status.
Okay, any questions, Councilor Valiquette, then Councilor Flavor?
Through the mayor to the manager. So with these bridges, and I was gonna ask the same question about like keeping them part of our bridge maintenance program. But if there was any minor remediation that we needed to do, would we do that or would we? And I can't define what that would be, but would we do anything at all to them to extend their life or just annual maintenance?
Through the chair, we're still gonna, if there's some work that we can do with minimal cost to it to try and, prolong the life of these bridges, we're gonna do it. But if there's say a $20,000 capital cost for some work, we'd kind of have to steer away from that type of thing.
Thank you.
Councilor Flavor.
So your worship, I thought we had scheduled Rocky Alder for replacement.
Through the chair, last budget meeting, we had determined that we might be able to use this bridge in another location. And we kind of went with, when we come to this next budget this year, we were going to determine where we could put Rocky Alter. We never set in stone that we were doing Rocky Alter. We did say we were going to do Queensboro and Kinlan and then look at options for Rocky Alter because a lot of these bridges you can plug and play them just about anywhere.
Okay, and another thing, like you got Rocky Alder and Trudeau Bridge, like I don't see where we can close both of those bridges down. Like we're gonna have to put a detailed plan in place before we decide to do this, and I hope we're not entertaining an engineer to help us do this.
Not at this moment, we're not, but just some quick numbers. If we do get rid of Rocky Alter Bridge, the detour route would be essentially 1 extra minute to get to that one edge of the bridge for emergency services. So it'd be an extra 0.7 kilometers.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, go ahead, Councilor.
Anyway, we do need a detailed plan, we just can't. I can't see where we can just throw this out there and.
I think one of the key things that we've just experienced through Cindy's presentation is that we're gonna have to make some drastic decisions,
Yeah.
okay?
I understand that.
Yeah, because there is just no way, yes, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Through the chair, I just wanted to remind council that these bridges will not be closed at this time, but they will have their weight bearing limits adjusted as time goes through. And again, this is a decision made today by this council. That doesn't say that council in the future, when something drastic happens to one of these bridges, cannot reverse the decision or make a different decision. At this time, we're asking you to consider these so that they can be taken off the asset management plan to make the asset management plan more viable or easier to fund. And these are bridges that we have looked at to ensure that we do have alternate routes, that it doesn't impact emergency response times to a greater, to a high level. So we're trying to bring this forward to allow us to improve our planning on our asset management plan.
If I may follow up with CAO Diskey, when CAO Diskey and I met with MPP Rick Bressie, and we were talking about the asset management plan. And we were talking at that point about the number we have, 13.5. And I was just saying that there's no way that we can afford any of that kind of stuff. That's absolutely out of the realm of possibility. And so I said, well, in this asset management plan that we're doing, we have to also indicate where we're going to get the money to pay for it as it goes along. And Rick said to us at that time, you can't just say you're relying on the province, you're relying on the province. They won't even entertain your asset management plan unless you've shown you've made some hard decisions to get your asset management down to a reasonable level. So I just want to throw that out as well. That's what we're facing in this process, because actually the update to the asset management plan, I think, was still been done by July, but we were nowhere near ready. And then we found this individual that we're now working with, and we've gotten an extension, okay, to be able to get our asset management plan in. But these are the things that we have to do in this asset management plan, or they're not going to accept it. Oh, right, they're not going to accept it. Yes, go ahead.
So your worship, this is the third time we've done an asset management plan since I've been here.
You're supposed to do them every couple of years.
Doesn't matter. This is the third time. It costs us money every time.
I know.
Like big money. The taxpayers are the people that pay the bills. They pay them here. They pay them for the province. They pay them for the whole of Canada. I think somewhere in that detail, we should be allowed to borrow, or we should be allowed to receive funding. To offset our infrastructure costs, because we've been contributing continuously. We pay the bills. I don't know if anybody understands that, but we do pay the bills. Doesn't matter where the bills come from, we pay them.
So your worship, just for clarification, this is just an exercise in futility.
Mhm.
This is just showing our bosses at the province that we're willing to make hard decisions.
That's right.
It also doesn't mean that when the life of one of these bridges comes up, and whether it's this council or the next council, that there won't be a discussion.
That's right.
There would still be a discussion on that bridge when it's rolled. With that being said, if I may, your worship, could I ask the manager of Public Works, maybe to just in a little brief, let us know what these detours are and what bridge would be used in the alternate detour route. And maybe I'm alone here. The number of bridges and the names, trying to follow them all the time. And then you have people who live at that bridge. You have people who live at that bridge and they say, well, what are we supposed to do instead? And then I've got to go scramble and try to make up a bridge name. So if we could just know what the alternate detour route would be for these bridges if they were to close.
Good point.
Just kind of a cheat sheet for council. If I could ask that.
Yes, yeah, very reasonable, thank you. Any other questions? Well, thank you very much for pulling this together for us, Ryan. Again, it's another difficult task, but it's as everyone has said, that does not mean these bridges are being closed tomorrow. We have certain things that we can do to prolong their life as long as possible. So that's good to know. Okay, let me go back here. Be it resolved that council approve the municipality of Tweed Bridge rationalization report as presented, and further the council direct staff remove these 8 bridges from the AMP replacement schedule. All in favor? Thank you. Could I have a mover and a seconder to table the Queensborough costs and update, please? Thank you, Councillor Fleo. Thank you, Councillor Valcat. Over to you, Ryan.
Through the chair, so we recently got word that our bridges are all ready to go. Our one in Queensboro is ready and expected to be delivered at the end of this month and finally be installed. With that, we got some kind of unforeseen numbers. There was an omission during the installation cost where the abutments were not ordered. I talked to our consultant. He has never done this in the thousands that he's installed, he says. So we need to ask for a little more money for our reserves to get us back to where we should be. With that being said, we're still going to try as best we can to keep the cost down. There's a $58,000 contingency for unforeseen costs in this as well. That's whether we use it. If we don't use it, we can save some of that money. And that would be at the very high end, that 58,000. So there's still, I'm optimistic there's still some cost savings there.
Thank you. Any questions? Yes, Councilor.
Your worship, this is a perfect example of how hard we work to try to save money. I mean, otherwise, we would be into that for twice, maybe three
And
times.
who got us onto the prefab bridges?
Well, I did, but it took a while,
Yeah, but it did.
but we finally, we're doing it.
Yeah.
Perfect.
And we've seen
Great
one
job.
in Smith. You were there. A number of us were there when it was installed in Trenton.
Yep,
Remember that?
yep,
It was so neat to watch. Yeah.
oh, yeah.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions? Seeing none. Be it resolved that council accept the Queensboro Bridge costs and update report as presented. And further that council approve the budget increase to the Queensboro Bridge construction project. And further that council directs staff to utilize the bridge and public works reserve funds if there is no year-end surplus. All in favor? Thank you. Okay, moving on to community development. Could I have a movement and seconder to table the community development and parks and recreation update, please? Thank you, Deputy Mayor Marsh. Thank you, Councilor Valiquette. Over to you, Cindy. And Jay.
Good morning, Mayor and Council. The Community Development Department is currently in the midst of planning the Santa Claus Parade and supporting local organizations with their holiday festivities this month. At the same time, we're finalizing our digital tourism guide set to launch in spring of 2026. We also, this month, we also have several winter marketing projects scheduled to roll out over November and December to support destination businesses during the shoulder season. So that means promoting the trails, ice fishing, the theater, and the arts.
Thank you. I see there, you followed up on the EV charging.
Yes, I
cost.
did.
And that largely is a result of someone who reached out to Deputy Mayor DeMarsh that said, talked about all these increased costs that they were going to have. Deputy DeMarsh sent it to me, and you've investigated that, and you're waiting
Yes.
for them to get back to you with what all these costs are going to be.
Actually, I had a call with Hydro One, commercial
Okay.
sort of accounts manager, and he's been walking me through all the sort of details of the EV charging station. And a lot of the costs are because the level 3 chargers are over 50 kilowatts. So anything over 50 kilowatts there's a commercial charge, and it's at a different rate than a residential rate or rate under 50 kilowatts. So level 3 chargers that we're planning on putting in the community will be that will fall under that EV charging commercial rate of
And I
over
think
50
We
kilowatts.
just want to make sure we're not encouraging
That's right.
that the provider, Jewel,
That's
is
right.
incurring that cost, and I think we need that clarification.
Yes.
Councilor Fleetwood.
Could we get that in writing?
Oh, definitely.
Absolutely.
Good, great job.
Yeah,
Absolutely, we will do that.
well, thank you very much for that.
You're
Again,
welcome.
thank you very much for your most successful volunteer appreciation event. Always go above and beyond, and we're extremely grateful because this is a nice way for us to thank all of our volunteers. At the same time, you make this council look good, so thank you very much for doing.
You're welcome.
Yes, go
And
ahead.
Your Honor, I had to admit that, I had a little bit of a preamble before that I was gonna say, and I felt so bad, because Cindy had reached out to me a few times, and I just felt like, anyway,
We missed you.
all the people who are involved in volunteering for this municipality, that's the heartbeat of this whole municipality. I mean, honest to God, I just can't believe it anyway.
The
Great
other,
job, great job.
the other thing, Cindy, I want to thank you for working with the Legion and all that lovely memorial banners. You know, it looks absolutely spectacular. I want to let everybody know too, if you have a family member that was in the forces at any time, they don't have to be from Tweed. If you would like them to be remembered, you can work with the Legion on having and fund one of these signs. So that, like, you know, even a member of your family can be represented here with. I think they've done a great job in that regard. There was one other thing I was gonna say. Oh, shoot. Oh, slipped my mind now. Okay, but anyway, great job on everything. Jay, did you have anything to say? How's the arena going? How's all of that?
Actually, everything's going, the arena's up and running. It's going well. We, now that the grass is growing again, we're full time at the park still. So I still have a summer student working with me right now, which is kind of great. Thank God that he's got time to work with us. But, no, everything seems good. We're, going quite well.
Okay, well, thank you very much. Thank you both. Be it resolved that council received the community development parks and recreation day report as presented, all in favor. Thank you. Could I have a move and a seconder to table the community improvement plan, CIP request from Tweed and Company Theater? Move in a second. Thank you, Deputy Mayor Marsh. Thank you, Councilor Valiquette. Any questions on said request? Seeing none. Be it resolved that council receive the community improvement plan request report as presented, and further the council approve the CIP request from Tweed and Company Theater. All in favor? Thank you. Did I have a move and a seconder to table the fire department update as of October 14th, 2025? Move and a seconder, please. Thank you, Councilor Valiquette. Thank you, Councilor Fleeler. Over to you. Derek.
Morning, everyone. Through the chair, just a few little updates. We have received a grant from Project Zero again this year, which is very good. Donates 126 smoke alarms to us that we use through the year for needy homes and places that we need for smoke alarms and that. So they're a great supporter of the fire department, and we greatly appreciate that from Unbridge. We've also kept our ban is still on, but we have restricted to 7 p.m. to 7 a.m. campfires only. We do get some more precipitation, which we hopefully will here this fall, but our water sources are still very, very low. We hope to get, and I'm sure there's some farmers that are gonna want to get some brush and stuff removed here. So if that's check on the conditions, have them give us a call and check conditions with us that day or whatever, and we may be able to arrange for some of the burning or whatever, but it'll have to be checked out by us to make sure that the area is sufficient, that we have water sources close enough to the area to deal with that. And I said we've the month of September has been super busy for us. The guys and girls have been really, really busy with all kinds of different kinds of calls, and thanks to them for putting up the time there. I know they've been running hard there and had some good ones, but they're doing a great job and continue with their training and stuff. So everything there has been going well with that. And we'll, like I said, we're working on emergency management right now. We've put in for a grant too for the emergency management grant there for one of the signboards. We'd received them last year, and they're very helpful for if you get a quick incident or something for road closure or an event that happens. People kind of see the signboards, and they work really good. So that's what we put in for this year. Hopefully we see something out of that. But besides that, everything has been going good, and hopefully stays quiet for the fall, for make sure everybody checks their chimneys and make sure to get them cleaned. And one thing I think we've already had a couple of those, so it's that time of season, burn your dry wood and get your chimneys clean every once in a while. Thank you.
Thank you, and change your batteries and.
Yeah, so batteries, mobile, that's next, yeah, so.
Any
Stacy,
questions of
yes.
Fire Chief Little? Seeing none. Thank you very much for that update,
Yeah.
and thank you for all that you and your team do for our community to keep us safe.
Thank you.
Be it resolved that council receive the fire department update as presented. All in favor? Thank you. We've been a seconder to table the bylaw enforcement report, September 2025 Tweed bylaw operations log report. And statement of revenue and expenditures as of September 30th, 2025. To move it to seconder, thank you, Deputy Mayor Marsh, thank you, Councillor Palmetier. Any questions on said report? Yes, Deputy Mayor.
Mayor, I see year-to-date actual user fee. Of only $150. What's that for? There was no recorded user fees on 23, 24. And we got $150 pop up. What's that?
User fees, is that the fines? And that's it?
I can ask at the next meeting what that is. I'm
Yeah.
not sure myself.
Yeah, if you could, because I mean, like, you know, I don't want to belabor what Councillor Fleeler always says about laying paper. But that's $150 is all we've done so far this year. Okay, well, maybe, or is it somewhere else?
No. I just wanted an opportunity to say.
Oh, sorry,
No, I think, with council's permission, I think at the next meeting, I would like him to start tracking his enforcement activity. Is it, like, he's gone to all these calls, but has he charged anybody or has he warned people?
Okay.
To see what he's actually doing.
I think we would, I think,
We're excited about it.
yes, and I think we would like to see more detail on what's happening here and whatnot, and fines being laid. Go ahead, Councillor Fleeler.
Worship, I think the bylaw enforcement officer is,
Careful.
I think he needs some help. Honestly, I think we need another man, because I think by the time he checks out what's happened from the time he was here till the time he comes back, he investigates what's going on. He's limited by his hours, what he can really do. So I think if we could, through the board, bring out another member, I don't know.
Well, we
I
did
think it
have,
was cost prohibitive.
Yeah.
We did have a second person who was filling in for our current bylaw enforcement officer. And then when he came back from his leave, we had to let that other person go because there just wasn't the financial ability to carry two staff in that role.
but I think what Councillor Fleeler is getting at, but then maybe we have to up the budget in that regard in order to bring on two. Is that what you're?
Yeah, and if they had more time, they could make the paper. You know what I mean?
But it is interesting though, because when you look at how much time they spend in the community, how much would you say it is that the bylaw officer is actually in our community? Because he serves 4 communities, 5 communities,
Yeah.
5 communities,
Through the chair, he's here usually a day and a half.
a day and a half.
So he's.
So maybe that's something you guys can take back, if you would, for looking for next year's budget. Councillor Valiquette. Not that we want to increase our expenditures any more than we have to, but I mean, just to look
I
at it.
think it would make sense, really.
Any other questions? Be it resolved that council received the September 2025 Tweed bylaw operations log is presented, all in favor. Did I have a, excuse me, did I have a mover and a seconder to table the animal control officer update as of September 2025 animal control and livestock investigation report? Mover and a seconder, please. Thank you, Councillor Fleeler. Thank you, Councillor Palmetier. Okay, again, are we getting any of this money back? Lori, if you would.
So it's recently come to my attention that because we have our fines through the provincial offenses, that the animal control officer has to be appointed by bylaw as a provincial offenses officer to be able to give those fines. So I think they were discussing it being done through the bylaw officer, which again is limited time. So I believe we're working on a presentation to council to change it from provincial offenses to our AMPs, so that he can then lay the.
That he
fines.
can.
Yes.
Oh, so he can't because
No, and we thought, so it's been a process since I've come into this position of finding out different things regarding his abilities in the process. And so, yeah, right now that's what we're
Okay.
looking at, changing it to the AMPs. Because even if it was through the provincial offenses, then it would have to go through the county, they keep a portion of the money, and it's only like $50, so we wouldn't get much out of it anyway, right, for depending on what the fine was.
Okay,
So we're gonna be looking at redoing the bylaw for the
Okay.
control and changing.
thank you. Thank you. Good to know. Thank you very much for that. Any other questions? Seeing none, be it resolved that council received the September 2025 annual control and livestock investigation report as presented. All in favor? Could I have a move and a seconder to table zoning amendment public meeting ZA 16/25, please? Thank you, Councillor Valiquette. Thank you, Councillor Palmetier. Any questions on said zoning amendment? Seeing none, be it resolved that council receive the zoning amendment public meeting report as presented, and further the council directs staff to bring forward a bylaw for zoning amendment ZA 16/25 at the next regular council meeting. All in favor? They have a mover and a seconder to table 7 applications, B7, B57/25 Brook, B58 and 59/25 Nicholson. Oops. And B70/25 Benson, please. Move in a seconder. Thank you, Councillor Deputy Premier, and Demarche, and thank you, Councillor Palmetier. Any questions on any of those? On the, I guess the first one being B57/25. Any questions? Seeing none, be it resolved that the committee adjustment planning recommend that council grant consent for severance of application B57/25 with the following conditions. All realty taxes are paid in full. Parkland fee is paid in the amount of $750 for the new lot. Road widening is required along the severed lot to conform to 33 feet from the center line of the traveled roadway, French Settlement Road. Public Works Supervisor is satisfied with the safe site entrance on the severed lot and with roadside ditching and drainage, and rezoning from rural RU to rural residential RR. All in favor? Okay, now in regards to any questions in regards to severance application BA/25 and B59/25. Any questions? Seeing none. Be it resolved that the Committee of Adjustment Planning recommend that council grant consent for severance application B58/25 and B59/25 with the following conditions. All realty taxes are paid in full. Parkland fee is paid in the amount of $150 for each home lot. Road winding as required along the severed lot to conform to 33 feet from the center line of the traveled roadway, Mariset Road. Public Works Supervisor is satisfied with safe site entrance on the severed lot and with roadside ditching and drainage, and that rezoning from rural RU to rural residential RR. All in favor? Thank you. Any questions in regards to the last, which is application B70/25? Seeing none, be it resolved that the Committee of Adjustment Planning recommend that council grant consent for severance application B70/25 with the following conditions. All realty taxes are paid in full. Parkland fee is paid in the amount of $750 for the new lot. Road widening is required along the severed lot to conform to 33 feet from the center line of the travel roadway, Princeton Road. And Public Works Supervisor is satisfied with safe site entrance on the severed lot and with roadside ditching and drainage, and that rezoning from rural RU to rural residential RR. All in favor? Thank you. Moving on, did I have a movement and seconder to table vacancy member Bailey resignation, please? Thank you, Council Palmetier. Thank you, Councilor Valiquette. Any questions on this? Yes, seeing none. Oh, yes, I'm sorry. Let's see.
So at the meeting, there was a discussion about this, that they could essentially be down to 3 people per meeting. So I suggested at the time that I could sit on the minor variance for the rest of the term, which would give us a buffer in the event someone wasn't able to make it. I'm not exactly sure. There wasn't an opposition to that, just it had been separated for years for what reason I can't recall.
Yeah, to the mayor, just historical preference, I think, to keep minor adjustments to the zoning bylaw. rather than having council be the committee of adjustment. There's just a historical preference at the municipality of Tweed to have those individual committee members appointed. There's nothing to say that a member of council or council can act as the committee of adjustment. It's just one of those things where it's kind of always been that way. There's nothing really behind that.
So then, for the sake of the rest of this term, we could just make that adjustment.
Yeah, so there's a couple of options there in the report. I think various committee members have suggested various items, so they ultimately decided council to make that final decision on which option we go with. But yeah, that is an option as well.
Okay, go ahead, Council, Deputy Mayor.
I do believe through the mayor, there's, it would require a bylaw change to let a member of council sit on that committee, number one. Number two, I think in the past, it's always to keep council out of conflict on those committee of adjustments. I was a little vague in the, Councilor Valiquette alluded to a little bit, I was a little vague on what their decision was and the chatter, I was trying to figure out the chatter in here, but I wasn't really sure what consensus they felt comfortable with. I mean, we only have a year left, right? So at this point, we do committee.
I believe that their general consensus was just to leave things the way they were. And there are not a lot of meetings left for 2026 until the end.
I would agree that kind of is where the consensus was, but ultimately they wanted council to make that final decision. As Deputy Mayor alluded to, there will be a bylaw amendment if another individual is appointed, whether it be Councilor Valiquette or another member of the public. We would have to amend that bylaw for the community adjustment.
So they feel that there's not, at this point in time, they're okay to go with what they've currently got there.
I agree with Councilor Valiquette's assessment with that, yeah.
Okay, and so there's no need to make any changes, just let it go status quo.
That
Okay,
generally is the will of the committee,
Okay.
I believe, but they ultimately want council to
Sure.
decide, but I do agree with Peter's assessment there.
so then, let me just go back to motion.
So, Mr. Mayor, just to,
Yep, go ahead.
as we're trying to move development and making decisions with this concept, if by chance someone got ill, we would not have so they couldn't reach a decision, which is one of the reasons I offered to be,
Well, they still have one. You'd have 3 members.
no, just, I wasn't.
You're not on the committee of adjustment.
No, there's only 4. Right
There's 4
now,
now.
one's gone, and one's sick. Seems to.
So there. What was there discussion around the quorum?
So through the mayor to all council, in the report, there is an impact statement there of a couple lines which highlights that. The committee of adjustment is 4 members, we're down to 3. If one is unable to attend for whatever reason, we would not have quorum, we would need to do a recirculation. There was a discussion briefly about that at the committee level. We're trying to coordinate public hearing dates. We have roughly 3 to 7 files a year, depending on the year, for minor variance files. We need some careful coordination ahead of time to make sure we're going to have all 3 members present to reach quorum to make a decision. In the event that we don't have quorum, the hearing does not take place and we need to recirculate. As the impact statement says, it delays the decision. Probably in this case, we can hold another meeting within a 30-day period, but it does delay the decision.
Well, yeah, well then I suggest that we add somebody or add Council Valiquette and make the bylaw change because I don't want to be holding up these kinds of things.
And we can just make it temporary for the rest of,
But
and
yeah,
then go back to the way it was.
yeah, it's just for the rest of this.
Just trying to help it.
Yep. Any other questions, comments, concerns about that? Seeing none, be it resolved that council receive the committee of adjustment planning vacant seat report as presented and further the council select Councilor Valiquette to sit as an interim measure and then come back on the bylaw adjustment. All in favor? Building Inspection Services Board, BISB. Could I have a mover and a seconder to table the Building Inspection Services Board, BISB, September 25 building permits report and statement of revenue and expenditures as of September 30th, 2025. Thank you, Councillor Fleeler, and thank you, Councillor Valiquette. Any questions on said report? Seeing none. We're still doing pretty good here, right? Be it resolved that council received the September 2025 Building Inspection Services Board BISB report as presented. All in favor? Thank you. Moving on to bylaws. Could I please have a mover and a seconder to table bylaw number 2025-83, a bylaw to repeal bylaw 2023-34, adopting portable vendor policy to license and regulate portable vendors in the municipality of Tweed. Move in a seconder, please. Thank you, Deputy Mayor Marsh. Thank you. Sorry, thank you, Councillor Fleeler. Any questions on said bylaw? Seeing none.
Your worship.
Oh, yes.
Still want to just refer back to that there was a purpose for that bylaw, and I don't know if it's appropriate for it to be completely dismissed.
And did you say that you had something that we should add into a reinforce in another bylaw, or what were you?
So we were going to review this bylaw because of the community issues and the organizations in respect to vendors like with quilting or,
Arts and crafts.
arts and crafts and stuff like that. But that maybe it was still important to keep it in place for the food vendor trucks, the chip trucks and stuff like that. Now, having said that, there's also, if it's on municipal property, like the one at the park, we do get a copy of their documentation from the health unit and everything that they are up to code with having food truck on municipal property. That's a requirement anyway. It would be that if someone came in for a 1 day or wanted someone to have it on their private property, such as another campground or something like that, then we don't have any governance over it. But they should still be contacting the health unit. We just don't know if they have or not because we don't have any reason to contact them to find out. If we had our portable vendor strictly for food trucks or food events, then that's a different situation. So that's up to council.
What about if somebody did it in their front yard of their home?
It's the wrong zone.
And there is, and the other one that Deputy Mayor DeMarche alluded to at the last meeting was the secondary bylaw change, and that was for zoning. So portable vendor trucks are still only provided or allowed in the proper zoning areas. So
We're saying vendor trucks. I'm saying somebody puts up a barbecue and starts selling things in their yard, hot dogs. It's not a truck.
no, and that's under the
That's a-
definition of a portable vent, like a portable
That would
food
be,
vendor.
it's defined.
Like we have the hot dog cart, for an example.
Yes.
That sells, so she did provide me with all of the information when she started up. And that was on private property, but going forward by repealing this, we wouldn't have any necessity or avenue to request the documentation. It would strictly be up to the property owner and the person that owns the food cart to ensure that they've gotten the proper documentation through the health unit.
And this came as a result too of the fair board and.
The part,
Board,
fair board
or,
and,
yeah.
Stoke Lake Law.
You look like you want to say something.
Like I said in my motion, though, that issue with the food vendors, if that's the concern, number one, if the, say, a zone property. Is zoned commercially and zoned for that activity, they're ultimately responsible. I don't know how we're getting dragged into ultimate responsibility on this. If it's on our property, then yes, that comes into play. But I think we're getting way off the beaten track here by trying to regulate what another business is legally zoned to do, and that's their responsibility. I don't think we should be dragging ourselves into that rabbit hole. Now, we can tweak that subsequent bylaw to address municipal land. And if that's the case for food only. But if we don't repeal this, we're going to have a whole bunch of events coming up. They're gonna get caught in this, and it's not what we intended.
Yes, Councilor Fleeler.
We're in between a rock and a hard place on this one, but if we left it as it is and tweak it, how long would that take us to change the wording to accommodate the fair board and the arts in the park and all that kind of thing?
Lori.
It would just be a matter of changing the terminology in the, you can amend the bylaw or repeal this and do a new one, but basically just repealing the information in the current bylaw to take out anything that has to do with anything other than a food vendor. But as was suggested, you're taking on a liability that if a food vendor comes into the municipality, they don't come to us and tell us and we're not aware of it, then are we bringing on some kind of liability on ourselves for not having the information?
Go ahead, Doug.
So very quickly. As a municipality, to the deputy mayor's point, as a municipality, is there liability on our part if I'm having a banquet on my backyard? I got a tiny backyard, by the way, but if I have a banquet in my backyard and I don't let the municipality know, is there a liability?
Yes, go ahead, yes, yeah, with this.
Through the chair, there's a couple of issues here. One is it being sold? Or are you just inviting people over as guests? That's a big issue, right? So, I believe the municipality would have some liability, even if we didn't, we don't need the bad press. And the other factor that we're also concerned about is a fire inspection. So when you bring in a food truck or a portable vendor with a propane tank or some type of utensil that's used for cooking, you still want a fire inspection as well to ensure that that equipment or that apparatus is up to code and is safe.
Thank you.
Well, where does this lead?
Well, I'm fine. I think that we've kind of got all the different angles since we discussed it last, and that makes more sense to me. For my questions anyways.
So if we approve this, then we are not liable for anything.
No, you can't request it.
No, that's right. I'm not an insurance person. I
Yeah.
can't say if we're liable or not.
Cause I'm just going about what you said.
But I'm just saying, if we have a bylaw in place that says we have to do something and we don't do it, then I think it brings some responsibility onto it. And in this case, if we don't have that responsibility, then I'm not sure. And like, I think the fire department inspects such things anyway, with or without the bylaw, right? Right.
But
So is
I'm just going back to, you were saying like, okay, so if we let it go and somebody does it, is there, you said, a certain degree of responsibility falls on us or no? We're okay. Liability.
There would always be some responsibility for the municipality. It just determines how much, and you know, the other issue is we're losing an opportunity to maintain and control this or regulate it and lose a fee as well. But it also allows us to understand who's doing what. And you may get some backlash from your other commercial restaurants, because if somebody can come in here and set up shop, they're taken away from the people that actually pay taxes to the municipality to run their business as well.
Go ahead and then, so.
Through the mayor, and that's fine and dandy, but if that piece of land is zoned commercial. And that's an allowable use, like it was a case on that old Petro-Canada land. We can't stop it because it's already zoned and its purpose for that use. The health department requires an inspection for it to be open, and so does the fire. I don't see how. Charging a fee is going to change that with that secondary bylaw sitting there. You know what I mean? That's what's running my head. If you're gonna tweak it, you tweak in the secondary bylaw to say. Food vendors only, if that's what you're gonna do. But then you're gonna catch all these other little things in place, like all these bake sales, are they gonna be caught in this, like the Thomasburg Church or something like this? I don't wanna see this impact our service groups and our little, you know, church groups and, you know, the United Church over here, so I just think it's. We're gonna be at risk no matter what we do. We could be at risk of somebody trips on the sidewalk tomorrow. You can't hide behind that all the time, you know?
Councillor,
So I think we're making a lot of it, but anyway, I don't disagree with the deputy mayor. I don't wanna see, you know, the bake sale at the Thomasburg Hall have to be paying some sort of fee to do that. And it would be nice just to limit, you know, food vendors and whatnot when they're actively in cooking. But would there be a way just to kind of draft it? I don't know if you do it in this bylaw or the primary bylaw or the secondary or the tertiary bylaw, but couldn't you just leave that with the director of community development to say that, this is a bake sale, this is a art in the park?
the thing is, okay, looking at it from Quan's perspective, when we do the pancake breakfast. Okay, we have to get permission from the Board of Health. And in regards to bake sales, they have directed us that we have to, if it's not made on premises, you have to have labels about exactly what's in that product. who made that product and the phone number. And a sign on the wall saying that this has not been made on premises. And you have to get the Board of Health to approve that. So that would go to community dinners, that would go to school bake sales, and I don't think people are. Because they're not aware, and the only reason why I am is because I am a Quanian. But that's what we've been told we have to do, and we do follow those guidelines and regulations. So.
Your worship, I just don't wanna see. You know, the fair board and the art in the park and all these people. Subjected to all this. Type of thing.
They're gonna have to get them, like say the fair board, for example, when they do, I think the little food trucks and stuff like that, even for the fair and whatnot. They still have to get approval. I think, like, you know, even when we do it, like, you know, for the, when we were doing the dinner, I volunteered at the dinner for the Tweeden Area Arts Council, helping them there. They still had to get approval to be able to do that from the Board of Health. They could come in at any moment, for example, and check to make sure you've got the gloves on, and there is a food handler who's trained, and,
Yeah, that's.
you know,
different.
yeah.
But is this also? Pertain to people selling wares? Like, is that? Yeah. Like, so Art in the Park down there, if all the people had to get a permit.
No, that part, I'm no question about that part, I'm talking about the food side of it. For example, we talk about food, okay, when it's in the pavilion, it's on our property. Okay, so if we have whatever our guidelines and whatnot dictate what happens to food in our pavilion. If it's on the fair, like, you know, the fair, that's still our property, because we're in partnership with them. So we, like, you know, if we have certain things which guide what has to be done on our property, that impacts those other organizations. Would I be correct?
Yes, I believe so. The other thing to consider, as well as was mentioned earlier, is the bylaw officer to attend these events. To find if there's any that didn't submit to us ahead of time. You know, it is a lot of, you know, back and forth with that as well.
But the other, it goes back to, like you said, there's guidelines that dictate what can happen on our property.
And Mayor, that could even go, if you, well, just we use Kiwanis. They're at the curling club most of the time with their dinners, and that curling club is own commercial. You look at any, you know, the Queensborough Hall, like kind of like any, so you mean to tell me if you know, if they're going to have a little bake sale to support their nursery school program, that all of a sudden they're gonna be incurring into extra fees on top of the health regulations, on top of all these other things, just to get money to have a couple of basketball nets for the kids.
No,
You know, but I mean, if this doesn't get repealed. like I'm saying.
no, I mean, this, what happens, I'm going back to what you had said, that what happens on municipal property, we have guidelines that dictates what can happen. I'm not talking about the schools. Schools are their own business or whatever, and the schools would probably have to buy anything that the Board of Health says. I'm looking at in the park, we said selling food. We're looking at, excuse me, the fair board, and we're talking about the vendors there. It's on our property. So we're saying what's on our property should be dictated by the regulations that we put in place. That's all I'm saying. If we want to change the bylaw to exclude everything off of our property, that's fine. But a couple of the examples that have just been thrown out are on our property. So we'd have to abide by the guidelines we have in place for anything happening on our property, regardless if it's jointly owned or not. We are still liable. Is that the interpretation?
Yes, I think that makes sense. Yes, that makes sense. That's,
Okay.
we would just have to let those event organizers know ahead of time that they're responsible to ensure that they have the proper health unit documentation, which I believe they all do anyway. For, like you say, the fair, when they bring in food trucks to sell food at fairgrounds, or fish dinner at the park and stuff like that. And then, like the Kiwanis used to have the chicken dinner,
Right.
same type of thing.
And then it goes again, then I'm thinking, okay, back to the community dinners. They are dinners that are happening on our property. So therefore, we would be responsible if there was an issue. If the proper authorities weren't in place. I'm just thinking.
No, and just speaking to another private business owner that has zoning for that kind of event. They still have to go through the exact same steps.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I don't see where this is going, like.
No, I'm just saying that,
You know.
like, no, we're throwing out examples, that means like a church, like our turkey dinner in Queensborough, we can't be stopping them from. I'm saying that if we're gonna be using anything that falls on we have to extend our time, don't we? Go ahead. Do we do that right now? Okay, I make a motion to extend the level of our council meeting.
I believe do.
It's okay, I was supposed to have gone already too. Okay, so
I'll second that.
second it, okay,
Or
Yeah.
move it, whatever.
Councilor Fitter, Councilor Valiquette, all in favor? Thank you. Okay, I'm just referring that the examples we've been throwing out are actually examples that happen on our property. And therefore, the zoning bylaw that we say we have in place that dictates what happens on our property would apply to those different institutions. When I was talking about the bake sale, and Kiwanis, you're right, it's done through, but we're told by the Board of Health for the bake sale, this is what we have to do. They're not gonna prohibit them. They just say, this is what you have to do in order to protect the people, but we don't wanna get involved in that. I understand that. You look like you wanna say something.
We're running around
Yeah. So then, the thing is what we do is. What we have in place right now for anything in our property stands. And then we're just saying anything that's not on our property. That's what you're,
Yeah, but we're just not gonna charge the fee.
that's right. So, that's, are we okay with that? Okay?
So, yeah, I'm just like the Councilor Palmetier, so we're just gonna reach out, those events that are coming to us, so we'll use the fair again. They say we're bringing in food trucks, she's gonna relay, just make sure you have your health units in spot and your fire inspections done, cause it's on our property. Is that kind of where we're going with this?
But you need proof of that, do you or no? Do we just flag it that you have to, and then that's up to them to do it? Or do you need proof that they did?
If we leave the bylaw in place, then we need proof.
Mhm.
If otherwise, perhaps to the community development department, when the events are being organized, we can let our people know it's a requirement, but I'm not sure. The, when we don't have a bylaw.
So there's, the mayor, there's two different things going on here. There's the zoning bylaw aspect of it, and we have a bylaw in place for that, and then we have our portable vendor policy. In many cities, the portable vendor policies are to regulate like municipal lands that we've been talking about, or lands that aren't zoned. So we're talking sidewalks, streets, parking lots, that may not have municipal on it. There's an opportunity to regulate, license, and collect a revenue. As Deputy Mayor DeMarshall's highlighted, the zoning will be in place as long as we leave bylaw, I believe 2023-35 in place. It allows the permitted use of the portable vendors in particular zones. Back prior to these bylaws being passed, a portable vendor was not a permitted use in the municipality of Tweed. Technically, it needed site-specific zoning to allow for the land use, regardless of it being a commercial facility, a community facility. If we repeal the regulatory bylaw 2025-34, 2025, yes, 2025-34, it leaves in place still the zoning aspect. So vendors can continue to operate in the zones that allow it to. We lose the ability to regulate, to collect that checklist essentially of items that we needed previous. As far as the merits of either side, you can go, either way. I think that's the discussion we're having. But those are really the two options that are on the table. I think it's good that we leave the other bylaw in place because it does give at least some land use planning regulation to portable vendors moving forward. We're still saying this is where they can be. The broader concept is if we're going to allow community dinners or portable vendors on municipal land, do we want to regulate that through licensing, or do we want to regulate that through policy? Policy being, we require you guys to do these things. We have a policy on that. Licensing being, we charge a fee. You have to check all these boxes in order to obtain your license to move forward.
Because I remember, just recently, the Legion had made a comment that the Board of Health has stopped them from doing any of their community type dinners and everything, and they were wondering how to, like the Queensborough, oh, that's right, because we were talking at the Hamlet meeting, she was wondering how does Queensborough get to have their turkey dinner and then they can't have their dinner and stuff, like, you know, and it's like, it turns into. Okay, okay, well, the motion, I mean, the bylaw has been discussed and it has been, basically approved at our last meeting to come back here. We feel that we are covered when it comes due to zoning and on our properties and stuff.
Yes, and it is a requirement of the health unit that these organizations, when they have
Do it on their own.
they have to
do
do
it.
this. If they don't,
That's right.
that's all. That's
Okay.
what they're supposed to.
And it's primarily if you're selling, I heard. No, it would be still if you were giving away. You know,
Yeah.
I don't want to get,
all
no,
food.
I didn't say that, I didn't say that. Okay, so, okay, the bylaw stands, I have it moved in a seconder, all in favor of the bylaw.
Of repealing it.
Of repealing, sorry, it is this. It was all that. Adopting a portable vendor policy to license a regular portable municipality in Tweed. And this says be it resolved that bylaw number 2025-83, repealing bylaw 2020-34, which adopted a portable vendor policy, be read a second, third, and final time, signed and sealed in open council this 14th day of October 2025. All in favor? Thank you. Could I have a mover and a seconder for bylaw number 2025-84, bylaw to adopt a red light camera and automated speed enforcement violations policy for the municipality of Tweed? Mover and a seconder, please. Thank you, Councilor Ellicott. Thank you, Deputy Mayor Marsh. Any questions on said bylaw? Seeing none, be it resolved that bylaw number 2025-84, adopting a red light camera and automated speed enforcement violations policy be ready first, second, third, and final time passed, signed, and sealed in open council this 14th day of October 2025. All in favor? Could I have a mover and a second to table bylaw number 2025-85? A bylaw to adopt a revised human resources policy for the municipality of Tweed and to repeal bylaw 2013-28. Mover and a seconder, please. Thank you, Councilor Ellicott. Thank you, Deputy Mayor Marsh. Any questions on said bylaw? Oh, yes, go ahead, Councilor Ellicott.
Just clarify, and this may be more through the mayor to this, but it says. Movement within the employee's wage scale shall be on an annual basis unless otherwise determined by council in accordance with the supervisor recommendation. Should the CAO be included in that? And not just the supervisor recommendation?
Okay, I would assume it would have come. That's good.
I would, but it's not in there.
That's a good point. I would agree. Yeah. Good. Any other questions, comments? Yes, Councilor Fuller.
Your worship, I don't know what to think of this. I'd like to record a vote on this as well. I got all kinds of questions that we're not gonna answer today. But I got one here. It says 1 30-minute break, unpaid lunch. 2 15-minute paid breaks mid-morning and mid-afternoon. So is that 4 breaks? Or is that? It's 2 total? Okay. And the other thing, and I think the wage scale is also included in this?
No.
That's the next bylaw.
So that's next, okay. Because, anyway, yeah, it was different, I guess I can't speak to it.
Did you want to still record a vote on this one?
No, not necessarily. I just don't, I got lots of questions, but anyway. If council passes it, I guess they pass it, so,
But you're okay with this one?
well, not really, but go ahead.
No, if you got other questions on this one, right? So,
Yeah. No, not really.
Oh.
No, I guess we're good now.
Okay. Okay. Be it resolved that bylaw number 2025-85 to adopt a revised human resources policy for the municipality Tweed as amended to include the CIO decisions be relayed first, second, and third and final time passed, signed, and sealed in open council this 14th day of October 2025. All in favor? Thank you. Could I have a mover and seconder for bylaw 2025-86? A bylaw to establish a revised wage scale for municipal staff positions and to establish council and employee wage benefits and vacation entitlements for the years 2025 and 2026, and to repeal bylaws 2023-2025, 2023-46, 2023-91, and 2024-07, and 2025-72. Move it to second, please. Thank you, Council Palmetier. Thank you, Council Valiquette. Any questions on said bylaw? Yes, please go ahead, Council.
Okay, here's,
Go ahead.
so I asked before. So we've got this pay scale in place. So your pay is increased every year. You go from step 1 to step 2, step 3, whatever. And somebody I thought said that and it's plus cost of living. Well, I
Well,
would see how it could be.
no, it would be whatever our, like, you know how at the beginning of our term, we agreed what the wage scale would be for the next 4 years?
Yeah.
That's what they mean by, I think, the cost of living, whatever the council agrees to as the pay increase.
So this step thing, there's no additional cost of living on top of this. Because you might have a 6% increase plus a 2% increase in cost of living, that'd be an 8% increase. I've never in my life heard tell anything like that. Maybe I'm confused.
Councilor, I didn't take it as, I took it as that initial one we had.
Yeah.
Would be applied to this.
Mm-hmm.
There's no secondary one that I'm aware of, that I never understood. Like I know what you're saying, and then their cost of increase on top of that.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's not how I understood it.
Please go ahead.
I believe what's presented to you is the wage increases or the wage steps for this year. Every step increase is subjected to the cost of living increase or the annual general wage increase. As staff progress through their steps, they will move up a step, and then that step is also subject to the cost of living or the general wage allowance. Now, some staff have already progressed through their wage steps and are at the job rate, so they continue to get their annual general wage increase as well. But for those newer staff that are still going through their progressions, it will move up to that step based on their anniversary date, as well as that step will also be entitled to the annual wage increase.
I couldn't hear what you said. Really.
Oh, really? Can you?
I forgot. Your name.
Oh, you got it.
It's not me, a few.
Oh, no, I couldn't hear you.
Okay, could you just
So-
say it again? He's gonna say it again, quick, okay?
Okay.
Speak a little louder.
The wage, staff will progress through their wage increases or their step increases for the
Yeah.
first 4 to 5 years of their career. They will also be entitled to the annual general wage increase each year. So staff that are at their job rate or have already gone through their steps, they get their annual general wage increase every year. So it'd be 2% for 2026. Any staff progressing through their steps will increase their wage at their anniversary of their year that year, or that date that year. So if you started in June, you would get your step increase as long as it's approved based on your performance in June of the following year or that year. You are also entitled to your annual general wage increase on January 1st as well. So you are correct by assuming that you will get that wage increase for your step, and that step will also be calculated the extra 2% or whatever the wage increase is that year.
Okay, but you don't automatically get the step increase. You have to qualify yourself to get that.
It has to be approved by your supervisor, and that's usually based on performance.
There's still quite a chunk of pay, really.
I know, but when you look at it, you look at any pay scenario, like, I mean, even when I was in the public service, we had a grid system too, then you max out at your certain amount, but you always got the whatever your contract, like your cost of living or whatever was negotiated added on. Because if you don't move them up, then you get into a position where we were already, where you're way down on the scale.
I
Yeah,
understand.
so that's why we have to keep doing it.
So once an employee gets to the top of their ring, then they're only getting cost of living.
That's right.
There's no more steps involved, right?
Yeah.
So.
Any other questions? Okay, see, that's what, so again. Seeing none, be it resolved that bylaw 2025-86 to establish a revised wage scale for municipal staff positions and to establish council employee wages, benefits and vacation entitlements be read first, second, third, and final time passed, signed, and sealed in open council this 14th day of October 2025. All in favor? Thank you. Items for consideration. Let's hold up. Okay, November 14th meeting. Here we go. Bylaw number 2023-13 being a bylaw to govern the calling, place, and proceedings of meetings of the council of municipality of Tweed sets out that regular council meetings of council shall be held on the second Tuesday of each month. Due to Remembrance Day being Tuesday, November 11th, 2025, the regular council meeting on February 11th. November 11th, 2025, council provided direction. Oh, I'm sorry, that was February 11th, 2025. Council provided direction to reschedule the daytime regular meeting, council meeting to Wednesday, November 12th, 2025 at 9 a.m. The time of this scheduled meeting is conflicting with other scheduled meetings for some council members. Council will set a new date for the November meeting, which is being proposed as November 13th. Thursday, November 13th, 2025. Could I get a mover to seconder to get that on the table? Thank you, Deputy Mayor Marshall. Thank you, Councilor Palmetier. Are we okay with changing that meeting? Be it resolved that council amend that November 25th, 25 regular council meeting to be held on Thursday, November 13th, 2025 at 9 a.m. Are we okay?
I won't be here.
Okay. Could we move it? Okay, or you won't be here all, or just the
I think. My wife is my calendar, so I think we leave that Thursday for a week.
Okay, if we go back, let me just check here. So this, if we look at, what about November 12th in the afternoon? Nope, you're not. Oh, no, that's not gonna work either.
His wife dictated.
All right, and then you're leaving on the 13th, you're gone 14th? Yeah.
Email.
And so, well, okay, because I have a meeting, Community and Human Services Committee in the meeting of the morning of the 12th. And you're not available anyway, so the CAO is not available. So are you okay if we move it?
Yeah,
Okay.
fine,
Okay.
just so that.
Yeah.
You have a good meeting then.
Okay, so we'll leave it, okay, as it stands, be resolved, the council amend the November 2025 regular council meeting to be held on Thursday, November 13th, 2025 at 9 a.m. All in favor? Thank you. Okay, could I have a mover and a second there to get the Lager Dog Hockey Tournament request for letter of no objection to a liquor sales license for the Lager Dog Invitational Hockey Tournament to be held at Tweed Arena on Saturday, January 24th and Sunday, January 25th, 2026. Move it a second, please. Thank you. Councilor Palmetier, thank you, Councilor Levicat. Any questions on said request? Seeing none. Be it resolved that council has no objection to the liquor sales license for the Lager Dog Invitational Hockey Tournament to be held at Tweed Arena on Saturday, January 24th and Sunday, January 25th, 2026. All in favor? Thank you. Could I have a mover and a seconder to get onto the table, a request from the Canadian Union of Postal Workers. It was an email from Jan Simpson, National President of the Canadian Union of Postal Workers. The upcoming mandate review of Canada Post could affect jobs and services in your community, and federal government attacks public postal service stop the cuts. This was second to the series of letters that have come my way. It's looking at us supporting keep it rural delivery of, and also to ensure that our post office remains open. I'm not sure if you guys want to support this. Or if there's things that you would like to tweak in it, please go ahead, Councilor Buckley.
Your worship, I was reading about this the other day, and looking at the Canada Post and their laws and things like that. If you look at it from a taxpayer perspective, per resident in Canada, it costs about $20 per person in the laws. To allow for equitable delivery of mail and things like that to people who are, we might not understand it here, but who are on reservations in the north, who are secluded and away from major centers. It's for some of the silly things that our government spends money on. I don't think it is that frivolous when it provides that kind of access to people. So I would support this.
Okay, any other comments? Yes, Councilor Leavitt.
Worship, I don't support it. Although I'd like to see the jobs secured, I'd like to see the deliveries secured, I'd like to see our post office stay where it is, but I find it hard to take direction from a union. And we personally, I've had the postal service deny delivery of letters because of the 911 number wasn't on it. All I had to do was write a little note on, need the 911 number. It was already arranged through the companies, it should have been done. Anyway, at the end of the day, that cost me a late payment charge on two different things. Because they wouldn't deliver it, they wouldn't advise me. Too many little things that the union's pushing, even this strike. The people didn't agree with that strike. The union ratepayers didn't really agree with the strike. So can we afford to have a strike every 3-4 months? They nailed us at Christmas time last time. Devastated the country. I think they need to take a good look at what they got. As we pay the bills, we need a service that's reliable. We can't have them going on a strike every 2 or 3 months. I just can't understand.
Well, I think in this one, they're talking about what a number of things that I caught my eye in this is that they're asking not to get rid of the delivery that you just said.
That's right.
Okay, they've also said that they want to make sure that postal offices are protected in rural communities. And the government is making a lot of these decisions without doing public consultation. Okay, that they're just making decisions. And so, like, you know, it's either, do we want to support it because it's addressing the various things that you say you hope that you have no problem protecting certain things, but is it just because it's coming from a union? I mean, I'm not sure what you would do because
they haven't given their people clear direction, in my opinion.
They're people, what we're fighting for is to fight what you just said, you don't want to make sure we don't lose. Whether, how they interact with the government, it's on their own terms. But if this is a letter saying that we are concerned in our community that we don't want to lose our home delivery and we don't want to lose our post office, is this something that you would support?
They made me move my mailbox.
Yeah, but are there also guidelines that they, like, you know, that have been set by the postmaster office, not the union workers, but the post office in general, that says these are the things that people have to do in order to abide.
Depends what road you're on.
Anyway,
I went around long, anyway.
okay.
Anyway, if you guys pass it, that's fine, but I just can't. Although I wanna see this thing, as Councilor Poppender said, we need this service. But how do we get there? I don't think it's through this union. I don't think they're giving them clear direction. I don't think they're representing the people properly, my opinion. That's me.
Thank you. Any other comments? Yes, Councillor Valley.
I'll be very quick. I was reading an article the other day and equated, some of our government agencies. Postal Service as one to the military. And a lot of these things we have aren't money makers for us. But they should be closer to breaking even, and the Postal Service right now is nowhere near close to that. It is an expensive proposition for all of us as Canadians, but the value is undeniable. So there are a lot of good points in there that I do agree with. And the union is part of the negotiations in this whole thing, and whether would we like to see more public consultation? Absolutely, so broadly, I support what's in front of me right now.
Any other comments?
We need a move for a second.
Could I get it? Oh, I thought I did. No, sorry. Okay, Councillor Palmetier, Councillor Valiquette. Okay. I will read the motion and then we will vote on it. Oh my God, okay. Whereas the federal government has announced drastic cuts to our treasured public post office, eliminating good jobs, ending door-to-door delivery, removing the moratorium protection on post office closures and changes to delivery standards for the mail. Whereas the federal government has done this without meaningful public consultation and has made this decision unilaterally prior to a planned Canada Post Corporation review from October 1st, 2025 to March 31st, 2026, effectively eliminating any opportunity for input from the people who will be most affected. Whereas thousands of postal jobs will be destroyed and 4 million households will lose door-to-door delivery most within the next few years. Whereas post office closures could degrade or completely remove service in many communities. Whereas these cuts will hurt seniors and people with disabilities in particular. Whereas it is crucial for the government and mandate review to hear the views from municipalities on key issues, including maintaining Canada Post as a public service, the importance of maintaining the moratorium on public office closures, improving the Canadian Postal Service charter, keeping daily home mail and parcel delivery to the door, improving postal banking, green Canada Post, adding EV charging stations, adding food delivery, improving delivery to rural, remote, Indigenous communities, and developing services to assist people with disabilities, to help older Canadians to remain in their homes for as long as possible, and at the same time helping to ensure that good jobs stay in the communities and that Canada Post can remain financially self-sustaining. Not self-sustaining, but anyway. Therefore, be it resolved that municipality of Tweed formally writes the Minister of Government Transportation, Public Works and Procurement, Joel Lightbound, to demand an immediate halt to the service cuts and to look instead for ways to increase services and revenues in other areas, such as those noted above. Demand that no mandate review takes place until Canada Post returns to stabilize operations, and demand that any review of Canada Post and the Canadian Postal Service Charter must be done through a full and thorough transparent public review, including public hearings with all stakeholders in every region of Canada. And further, that the municipality of Tweed will make a written submission and or participate in the hearings to provide input in upcoming mandate review of Canada Post. And further, that a copy of the resolution be sent to MP Southern Grant Island, Jan Simpson, President of the Canadian Union of Postal Workers, and Rebecca Vi, President of the Federation of Canadian Municipalities. All in favor? Okay, thank you. Could I have a mover and a seconder to table the letter from a concerned resident, correspondence from a concerned resident, urgent request for transparency and justification of property tax increases. Move and seconder to get that on the table, please. Thank you, Deputy Mayor Demers. Thank you, Councillor Valiquette. And I think this was sent to all of us. So. And I have asked that it be put on here so that we can provide direction to staff. I think it's important in this that we note that public water and sewage and garbage pickup are not things that the municipality pays, the residents pay for as a whole. It's only those who are currently in villages that get that service. Make sure that they pay for it is good.
Yes, the people in the village get that service, but it is available to people from outside in the event of an emergency. Right, they would be able to access it. Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry. I mean, you mean to access it, in case, yes, exactly. And road maintenance, of course, we've been fighting for funding for God knows how long for Clinton Road. And schools, children in schools, school taxes are not our responsibility there, that's the Ministry of Education. So there's a number of things that we need to get back, but she would like a breakdown, and I think we can easily provide her a breakdown with what our taxes are going to. Like, you know, just a summary sheet. And I do think that's the one thing that this council has been particularly good with, is transparency. We've been very, very upfront in labeling everything when we're doing anything, sending letters for clarification and whatnot. Well, we'll continue to do that. And then if she wants information, we're well aware of how you can go about challenging your assessment with impact, and we can put together something that we provided with other people at this time. Is everybody okay if we proceed in that way? Any questions, comments? Okay. Be it resolved that council directs staff to prepare a response to report to the concerns with a breakdown of tax dollar allocations. Thank you. All in favor? Thank you. Can I have a movement a seconder to table the request by bylaw to remove holding provision from zoning bylaw number 2021-32 for a recreational resort commercial expansion at 121 Vardy Road as requested by Robin Elizabeth Hay. Thank you, Deputy Mayor LaMarche, and thank you, Councillor Palmetier. Any questions?
No, just wanted to say it's a pretty comprehensive upgrade, I'll tell you.
Okay, be it resolved that council authorize staff to prepare the appropriate bylaw to remove the holding provision from the recreational resort commercial 8 zone established by zoning bylaw number 2021-32 for the property located at 121 Vardy Road for consideration at the next regular council meeting. All in favor? I remember what I forgot, and before I forget again, that I was going to say to Cindy, when we're looking at the banners, we're going to be airing the video for Remembrance Day at our next council meeting, and I think you've been provided with the link. Okay, good. Okay, but I have a movement and seconder to table the correspondence information, please. Seconder. Thank you, Councillor Valiquette. Thank you, Councillor Flavor. Is there anything in there that anybody would like to bring up? I see you've gotten a lot of support for your incineration.
Well, I know we've gotten a lot of support for most things we've done, but we don't seem to.
Yeah, but at least you put it out there.
Stuck in the mud.
You put it out there. Okay, seeing nothing, here. Be it resolved that the correspondence information be received and filed. All in favor? Thank you. Oh. Could I have a movement, a seconder to table the committee board minutes, please? Thank you, Deputy Mayor LaMarche. Thank you, Councillor Palmetier. Any questions on any of those minutes? Seeing none, be it resolved that council receive the committee board minutes as presented. All in favor? Could I have a movement seconder for the conformatory bylaw number 2025-87? Thank you, Councillor Valiquette. Thank you, Councillor Palmetier. Be it resolved that conformatory bylaw number 2025-87 be ready first, second, third, and final time passed, signed, and sealed in open council this 14th day of October 2025. All in favor? Thank you. And but I have a movement seconder to adjourn today's council meeting. Thank you, Deputy Mayor LaMarche. Thank you, Councillor Valiquette. Be it resolved that council adjourn at Lori
12:38.
12:38. All in favor? Thank you. Wow, was a long meeting.
I got a headache.